Good evening, Isaiah.
Evening, Rob.
Okay, folks, we are setting this up and we'll be starting the meeting shortly. I do want to ask BCA, I thought I was live streaming, but I don't see the image. And so hopefully they can talk me through that. And Isaiah, keep an eye out in the attendees category because Ruby had to log off and is logging back on.
Okay.
And Michael, are we live streaming?
Yeah, so I saw the live stream come up. So what I did was I made it private until the meeting starts, and then at that point I'll switch to public. But yeah, you did it correct.
Oh, shoot. Because it said there's no video available, and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
oh, because
I
that's because
was waiting for it to pop
private.
up. So I yeah, I
Okay.
quickly switched it to private, and then once the meeting starts, I'll switch that back.
That makes sense. And somebody just dinged. Hello, Laura.
Hello.
Oh, there's Ruby.
Okay, wait a minute. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, now let me work on the stupid camera. I'm telling you,
and we are broadcasting, so.
Okay. Settings, privacy, camera.
And for the attendees, just to let you know, we're waiting for the other board members or commission members to show up. They should be here shortly. Meeting doesn't start until 6:30-ish, and hopefully they'll be here soon. Hello, Kyle and Joyce.
Hello.
Oh, Ruby, you should be able to talk. Oh, she disappeared. I think she's going to be logging back on in a second. Making Kyle co-host, and I'm making Isaiah a co-host. There's Ruby again.
Okay. How about now? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you and see you.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, I see one more.
Jonathan Nira from Beta is going to be joining us tonight because Elise is out of the country, and our backup, Laura Kraus, is unavailable. So Jonathan's going to be hopping on a little bit. He said he may be a little late. He just sent me an email a few minutes ago, but he should be on momentarily. And I think Rob, he is going to be joining with a public link. So we'll have to promote him when he gets on.
His name is Jonathan.
Yeah.
And last name?
Nira or Nero.
Okay.
Let me look.
I will keep an eye out for at least a Jonathan. Madam Chair.
Niro with an O, Niro.
You have 4 members and would ask all the members to turn on their cameras for the record. We want to be able to keep that. The taxpayers deserve to see our smiling faces. And Joyce, it's 6:32, Madam Chair,
Yes,
and you may call the meeting to order.
so you don't have Peggy Curtis available, correct? She's not here yet?
I don't see her yet.
Okay. Okay, Sharifa and I had discussed that she would be observing this evening.
I have Sharifa in the room.
Okay,
Evening.
so we still have a quorum of 3 out of our
Yes,
original 4. Okay,
and
fine.
I'm promoting Jonathan. He just joined the group, and I will keep an eye out for the other board member.
okay, thank you. So it being 6:33 PM on June 21st, 2023, I call this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission to order. It's being conducted remotely in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting laws, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. Real-time participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission using the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. If you wish to comment during a public input of the hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you who are joining by phone only, please press *9 to raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be posted on the city's web pages. All votes will be done by roll call vote to ensure count accuracy. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is the commission matter meeting minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes that we have to accept or not. We'll take them separately only because, well, no, actually, I don't think we will have to. There was an issue whether or not someone had to be in attendance in order to vote on the minutes. And I
Yes,
did send a request into the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions to see if they had information on that. And Sharifa attended a meeting, I believe, last night. So Sharifa, can you just let us know what it was they said?
Hi, yes. So Michelle Grenzer stated that as long as members were able to read the minutes from the previous meeting, that they then could vote on the minutes.
Okay,
that was
so
it.
I think there might be some confusion. I know you can't vote on an applicant if you've missed 2 meetings, unless you've gone through and watched video and that kind of thing. So maybe there was confusion about that, but have all of the commissioners, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, let's do roll call first.
thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, if you could just state your first and last name, and that way we'll have you present for roll call vote.
Laura Beekler here.
Ruby Clay here.
Peggy Curtis here.
Oh, hi Peggy, and Joyce Forrest here. Okay. Thank you.
And Sharifa.
Teresa Mapp.
Okay, so Sharifa will be a voting member tonight as opposed
No.
to just observing. Okay, great.
Still observing.
welcome. Great, thank you. Okay, so as far as the meeting minutes are concerned, have the commissioners read both the minutes from April and May?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Quick note on the agenda. The agenda stated that it was an April 23rd meeting. I believe it was an April 19th meeting. So that agenda should just be corrected. So from the April 19th and the 23rd meeting, I entertain a motion to accept those minutes as read.
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from 4/19/23 and 5/23/23.
I second the motion.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, I.
Sharifa, we're in alphabetical order.
She's not voting.
Aye.
And Voris, aye. Okay, the motion's been made and carried. Okay. just for clarification, Mr. May, you said that Sharifa will be voting tonight. Is that correct?
She said that she was observing today.
Oh, okay, fine.
That's correct. I'm observing.
Okay. Okay, number 2 on the agenda is an emergency certification at 2 Silver Road. Is anyone here from the public for that, or Mr. Holden, are you going to?
Yeah, no, I was just planning on giving kind of an update on the
Okay.
board. I didn't ask anyone,
That's perfect.
a representative to be here for this. So there was a storm that came through at the beginning of the month, knocked down a tree over the weekend, and that following Monday, which was the 5th of June, I was contacted about this tree that was down. It was over a driveway and 3 cars. So this tree needed to be removed promptly. And so we issued an emergency certification form for 2 Silver Road. The applicant was Stu Sterling. The date of issue was June 5th. Basically the emergency certification allows them to do this work for 30 days. They have a window where they can get this emergency work done. I did drive by about a week and a half ago, and the tree had been removed. So at this point, I think the commission just needs to vote and certify that this was an appropriate thing to issue and that we're okay with the issuance of this emergency certification.
Commissioners, any questions?
I don't have any.
Okay.
I don't have any.
Do you know if if it's actually been cleaned up?
Yes, I drove by, maybe it was Monday of this past week. It was cleaned up then.
Okay, thank you. So the vote will be to verify that the emergency certification was appropriate. Is that correct? Is that what you would like as a motion?
I think, yeah, the commission just needs to confirm that this was all above board and part of the due
Mhm.
process, I think.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve the emergency certification for 2 Silver Road.
I second that motion.
motion has been made and seconded. The vote, please.
Secor, I.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Thank you for your quick reaction, Kyle, to that. Number 3 would be some discussions of violations. The first one at Oak Street Extension.
Yes, and I will speak to that one as well. Olga Leroy is the representative for Hamilton Company. She called me today. She was unable to make the meeting tonight, but she did want to give us an update. So they started work on this remediation yesterday. She submitted a remediation plan that I've uploaded to the drive. It just kind of outlines all the work that's planned to be done this week. And the end date is supposed to be this Friday. So that's kind of where we are on this project. Between now and the July meeting, I will go out and take some pictures or have Olga take pictures, and we'll confirm that this work has been done. And then the plan is that she will appear before the commission on the July meeting, and we can close this matter out.
It sounds fine. It's nice to have a violation discussion without ever having to go through enforcement order. It really has been nice that she's been so willing to work with the commission.
Yes.
Okay, there's no vote or anything required, so the next item on the agenda would be 115 Goldfinch Drive.
Okay, and this is a matter that we've came to our attention about a month ago. Let's see if Councilor David Texera is in the room. I don't see him as an attendee. I did send him a reminder letter, Joyce, that the meeting was tonight, and asked him.
Yes, I saw that.
Oh, one hand. Jim, are you associated with this? I'm gonna promote you. to see-
Attorney Burke is, yes.
Okay, great.
Let me unmute. If you hear me?
Yes.
No, thank
Yes, we can
you.
hear you. Thank you.
Madam,
Oh, we lost Mr. Burke.
he just joined as a panelist. He may have to unmute himself again.
Unmute. Am I there?
You are there, sir.
Excellent.
Hi, Mr. Burke. You know, the one thing, please, just for a note of the chair, I believe we do need a summary of what it is this entire project is, concerning, maybe from Agent Holden, before we hear from Mr. Burke, please.
Yes, I thought I had the map pulled up, but I don't have it handy. So basically a summary of events here is I got an anonymous report. Someone came into the planning department and complained that there was some yard work being done in the backyard of 115 Goldfinch. So I went out there after I reviewed this on the maps on Mass Mapper, and there appeared to be some work that was done over a property line, and then also as a separate issue within jurisdictional floodplain area and within the wetland buffer. I do have a map, so I'm going to look for that. And we did speak to David Texera about this, and I guess that we requested that he come to the meeting tonight and kind of give us a summary of how the property developed in the way that it currently exists.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Mr. Holden. I did see the map at one point in the file, but I didn't see it earlier today.
I'll try to find it, and I'll share a screen if I am able to find that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burke, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Welcome.
So this is actually not a new item for the Conservation Commission. There are some new faces, but this arose approximately a year and a half ago. And what occurred was Mr. Texera had some substantial work done on his home on Goldfinch and discovered that he unfortunately had a contractor who had not secured all necessary permits and also had encroached upon land that is part of now Wildlands Trust. When that became known, we immediately reached out to Wildlands to inform them of the unfortunate mistake. And it started a series of discussions that have been ongoing about how the best way to approach the project in terms of resolution with Wildlands, as well as the necessary restoration that would be required. So we've had a number of meetings, and that includes meetings with Wildlands, the mayor, the city solicitor, the ward councilor, and we have had Tom Pazurski of Merrill, who's done a substantial amount of work. The concept was that we really needed to know what the final plan was in order for Tom Pazurski and his office to create the necessary remediation plan that would be submitted to the Conservation Commission. In fact, the prior conservation agent was on this and out there in the site, and we had numerous discussions with the office going back well over a year. To update you, we reached an agreement with Wildlands. They were very receptive. They understood that it was an error that Mr. Texera was not aware was occurring. We're very pleased that they was brought to their attention directly. And there was a discussion about creating somewhat of a swap of a small portion to the rear of the property to allow the structures that were built, or some of the structures that were built, to remain, and then granting substantially more in multiples land to Wildlands directly to the north, as you can see on the plan. In fact, today I had a detailed discussion with David Texera, and it was within his family basically agreed that what they now want to do, and the message that they're going to send to Merrill, is that they are just going to remove all of the items that encroached on the Wildlands property. And in the process, we're going to be able to have Tom Pazurski prepare the necessary remediation plan for ultimate submission to the Conservation Commission. So This is a unfortunate, long-standing issue that has been around in front of a number of departments. In fact, Mr. Texera first became aware of it when he applied for a request for a pool construction, and it was discovered that the problem had occurred. So what you have, unfortunately, is a difficult set of circumstances that have not been ignored by the property owner. Substantial expense is already incurred in the process of getting this to the point of being remediable. And in fact, as of today's current decision, we now have a final determination of what the plan is going to be going forward. So that's probably the best and clearest update that I can give you at this point.
All right, thank you, Jim. So I've shared my screen with the site plan here. So this line here is the property line that Jim was discussing there. The land over here to the right of the screen is the area that's owned by Wildlands Trust. And then these other colored lines on the map are the resource areas that were kind of encroached upon here as well. So this pink line is an estimated wetland delineation. This blue line was delineated wetland. And then this green line is the 100-foot buffer zone. And then again, it's just kind of an estimated buffer zone through this portion because this pink line has not been delineated. And then this orange line through here is the flood zone, looks like flood zone A. So all of this stuff here, this is a retaining wall here. And then this is kind of part of the patio back here. So all of these things are kind of within a resource area of the commission here. So so this is kind of, Jim, in my mind, this is kind of two separate issues. There's the property line dispute with Wildlands, and then there's also the building within resource area that needs to be addressed.
I agree. And we now are really just focused on the resource issues because an understanding or decision has been made that there's going to be a removal of all encroaching structures. So really, once that is done and we provide you with a plan of how we're going to do it and provide you with a plan of what it's going to look like after we finish it, and get your permission to do it, that's how we're going to proceed.
Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. So one thing that I would wish to include, Jim, just so it's on your radar, and I've talked to Joyce about this and we'll see what the rest of the commission says, but one thing is we would like the rest of this wetland boundary to be actually delineated so we know what we're actually working with there. And we spoke to Mr. Texera about that as well when Joyce and I did a site visit earlier this month.
That seems reasonable, yeah.
So yeah, you get the wetland boundary delineated, and then as you have already mentioned, you're going to be working on a remediation plan.
Yes, correct.
Okay, great. Madam Chair, we discussed last week with our kind of advisors from Beta about potentially voting to issue an enforcement order just to kind of put all this in writing tonight.
Yes.
Is that something that you're interested in?
I certainly believe it should be done just to make sure that since there are resource areas that have been infringed upon, I do think that an enforcement order is necessary. His response, the way that Mr. Texera responds to the enforcement order should certainly lead to him being able to apply for an NOI and to get a permit to be able to do that remediation work.
Well, I'd actually rather, Madam Chairperson, ask that you don't issue an enforcement order. I mean, I understand and you understand what the facts are on the ground, but an enforcement order is a message that doesn't need to be sent here. What we have done is we spent substantial amount of money and a great deal of attention to resolve an unfortunate situation, and we are in the process of completing that. Quite frankly, I think given the circumstances and the applicant to be, I think an enforcement order is unnecessary at this point. And I'd ask the Conservation Commission to consider not doing it and maybe suspending your vote for 60 days and see where we're at.
Commissioners, do you have any thoughts on the matter that you might want to share?
I have a question.
Thank you, Peggy.
When was the property purchased?
Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that. I can and will find that out for you, and I'll submit it to Kyle.
If we don't do an enforcement order, how would we go about presenting the remediation that needs to be done on the list?
Well, it would be, as Kyle knows, it would be a simple request for determination, accepting the line, and a request to be allowed to do work within the buffer zone. And we would need the permission of the board to do that. We'd explain exactly what we intend to do and secure an order of conditions allowing us to do the work.
So you're suggesting filing for a notice of intent for?
I believe a notice of intent, I think, is appropriate here, Jim.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly it. I'm sorry, my terminology was off.
There's a lot there. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Do we have the representative from Beta available? I'm not sure about the intricacies of enforcement, the use of enforcement.
Hi, Madam Chair. This is John Hero.
Hi, Jonathan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm a project scientist from Beta Group, filling in for Elise this week while she's gone. So just a couple things on the enforcement order matter. So, certainly two sides here. On one hand, an enforcement order does document these things more formally in a, sort of a legal document that leaves a formal paper trail of these sort of violations. On the other hand, if the applicant does intend to file a notice of intent, I have seen, after the fact notices of intent filed for projects after receiving a written notice violation. However, what I've also seen is enforcement, a combination of the two, which is enforcement orders issued to document something, leave a paper trail, but then have a condition in the enforcement order that simply states that, upon the applicant securing an order of conditions approving the project, that the enforcement order is lifted. I think in this case, perhaps before issuing an enforcement order, you could maybe set a timeline. I know 60 days was mentioned by the applicant's representative. And then at that point, see if a notice of intent is submitted or ready to be submitted and make a decision at that point. I don't have the history that the commission does on this project, but it is possible, since they have received a formal written violation, that they could get, a defined timeline on when this notice of intent needs to come in and then go from there.
Kyle, the letter that you sent to Mr. Texera, I don't know how formal it was as far as stipulating exactly what it was that he needed to do.
No, I just asked him to either attend himself or have a representative come to the meeting tonight, speak to the history of the property. And then I did mention in the letter that an enforcement order was on the table tonight. I didn't say that it was certainly going to happen. Just kind of wanted to prepare for that eventuality.
But there was no formal list of like a violation per se, as far as what the violations were.
No, I didn't go into that.
Commissioners?
Yeah, my opinion is we should submit a formal letter, maybe in writing, just indicating what each violation is, and then compromise a little bit with the timeline and say within the next 30 days, we hear back with the NOI that shows us what type of progress, because it's not a new case in the sense that the backyard has been discussed before, maybe not in the specific area, to make sure that we continue to act in a way of compliance. I think that we do have to use a lens that says you have 30 days to respond with an NOI. And then we can also just make sure we issue a letter that indicates everything that is in current concern with the Conservation Commission.
Certainly the delineation, I would think, within 30 days, and then maybe within 60 days in NOI.
I would
Yeah.
agree. 30
I-
days is reasonable to show some kind of progress. 60 days is too long.
Correct.
Especially since this is not the first time it's been on the table. So I think a 30-day marker to see the progress is being made and then follow up afterwards.
I agree.
Okay. So Kyle, will you draft a letter to Mr. Texera just outlining what those violations are with a
Yes, I can do
request?
that.
With a request for delineation, wetlands delineation,
Mhm.
as well as an NOI.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jim and I will, I'll include you. I think I've got your contact information. So
You do?
Okay.
Yep.
And perhaps with the understanding that if after 30 days, there is no activity, perhaps at that point, an enforcement order would be immediately issued.
okay.
That'd be fair?
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
So do we need to make a motion?
No, it's not, it's a violation discussion. It's not, there's no votes necessary.
Okay, and when is our next meeting? It's in,
It's a July
July.
19th. July 19th.
so we'll see them back on July 19th.
Or at least I can inform the commission that the delineation has in fact occurred. And then on the following meeting, we would expect.
Yeah, perhaps we could see a
an
copy of that
application.
delineation and yeah,
Mhm.
that would be lovely. And yeah, because I didn't see any markers at all. When we went out to the property, I really didn't see any wetland markers even, so it was really difficult to assess what was there. Okay. That it for that, for Goldfinch?
Yes, I
Resolved?
believe so.
Okay, good. On to the next item on the agenda is 155 Winthrop Street.
Yeah, so just a little bit of backstory on this. Actually, Jim, I'm gonna,
Yes.
I'm not
thank
sure if
you.
you're sticking around, but I'm gonna.
I have Butler matter, yeah, right,
Okay.
Take care.
thank you.
Thank you for attending.
Oh, my pleasure, thank you.
Oops. All right, thank you, whoever did that. Okay, so 155 Winthrop. This is a matter that came before the commission last month. And no, I think I maybe issued the violation notice. Let's see. I sent this on the 23rd, so I think this was the same day as the meeting last month. So in the meantime, this family, there is a language barrier here that the commission should be aware of. They came in after I did a site visit. I got their permission, spoke to them the day that I went out to the site. Basically, what they have done is they've paved their entire backyard, and the backyard abuts an intermittent stream, and they've paved it with asphalt, basically all the way back to their property line. So we've talked to them and asked them to come before the commission tonight. They followed up and came into the planning department, and I spoke with them with the assistance of one of our employees up in the building department who speaks Spanish. We talked about them coming to the meeting tonight. But unfortunately, we don't have anyone here that can serve as translator for this discussion. So I did send another letter last week to them, informing them that if they could come tonight and provide their own translator, that would be very welcome. But otherwise, we can have a discussion here as a board, and I will go out and set up a meeting with them sometime in the next couple of weeks here and kind of inform them as to kind of where we are with this. So I'm not sure if anyone is in the public room here to speak to 155 Winthrop.
If you could raise your hand, please, if you are.
What is the last name of the applicant?
I see someone named Joey has their hand up.
Okay, all right, move to panelist.
It's Fenton, Mr. May.
I have a overall question. What is the city ruling on paving an entire yard? Because I know in Randolph, that's not permitted. And all driveways have to be inspected by an inspector before they get paved. So I was just curious what the ruling is in the city of Brockton with
So
regards to paving.
yeah, to that, Peggy, I'm not quite sure. As far as we're concerned, Brockton does have a 25-foot setback from riverfront area. And so because they're within that 25-foot area, this is a matter that's within jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission.
Mr. Holden, I could just briefly say, while we do not require an inspection or a permit to build the driveway, there is a certain amount of land, and in the case of residential, it's usually about 65% of the property has to stay open. So you couldn't 100% cover your property.
Okay. And is that something that's through the building department?
Through the
Would
zoning
enforce
ordinance,
that?
and it's enforced by the building department, or if it's excessive paving, it would be the city engineer through the stormwater ordinance.
Okay. So we may need to kind of expand this and include some other departments here as well.
You have a, and I'm going to mispronounce the name, excuse me, Jui?
Yes, hello.
Here she is.
Hi, Joey.
Hello.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm using my friend's computer, but my name is Julie. I don't know why they chose that. I'm sorry. So I have here the owner of the house. I'm gonna help her translate. Just because, like you said before, there's a language barrier. So this is our first time, well, my first time doing this kind of meeting thing. So I don't know, like, do you ask me questions and I ask her, or how does it work?
Yeah, basically, I guess I will start here, but yes, we'll give you time to then translate as we kind of ask direct questions. But I'm going to give a little bit more background information. So on let's see, May 23rd is when I sent the initial notice of violation, and that's all that we've done so far with this project property is a notice of violation. And as part of that, we requested that the homeowners not complete their fence. They were putting up a new fence around the new paved area. There are two fences that go along the property lines that abut their neighbors, and then there's another fence along the brook. And we asked them to not complete the fence along the brook just in case there was additional work that needed to be done. And then we just asked them to attend the meeting tonight, and that's the extent of my communication and my expectations as the agent towards this property owner. So
And
I guess
give
it's open
Julie-
to the commission now to
Give Julie a chance to tell that information
sure.
to the
Well,
property
yeah, well,
owner.
she does understand that, because she did mention about putting a fence, and because I guess there's like a pond behind her house, and she did say that she wasn't gonna do it because I guess she was told not to. So yes, she is aware of all of that.
Okay. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Holden, what are your, what were your recommendations for Benton as far as remediation or further action?
Okay, so like I mentioned kind of before, the city of Brockton has a 25-foot setback, but it sounds like there's more than just that needs to be addressed here. So considering what Mr. May informed us about with the zoning board being involved with the 60-foot or 60% of the property being open, I feel like at this point we need to reach out to these other boards and the departments to see what kind of requirements they would require to get all this back in compliance, because I would hate to issue one set of instructions from the commission and then have them get separate instructions from another department later on that has them do additional work. I think ideally here they could do all the work and get everything in compliance at once rather than just doing it piecemeal.
Okay, so dice que va a llamar a muchas personas. O sea, él, antes de darte una violación, él quiere asegurarse que otros departamentos vengan y vean si es que algo más está mal. Y ellos te van a dejar saber. Pero él no te quiere dar una violación ahora y luego enterarse que algo más está mal y luego tener que llamar a alguien. Entonces, es lo que va a hacer. Es lo que... So, okay, so I just translated that for.
Mr. Holden, Mr. Nero, would you recommend that wetland scientists go out there to evaluate the wetland portion, or perhaps through contract with Beta as part of their services to actually evaluate the wetland section of that, so that we know what we're dealing with as far as wetlands?
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is John Nero here. We'd be happy to, assess the site at some point on behalf of the city. But obviously, if the applicant is going to go forward with any kind of application, they would need to retain their own respective representation. But I think at this point, what could be done is, thinking about what Kyle said, getting one set of directions. You wouldn't want to go ahead and have something permitted and then find out it's not compliant with the zoning ordinance. So I think perhaps, maybe an internal meeting with Kyle and say the building commissioner to figure out what is even permittable here from a land use perspective. And then at that point, once that's conveyed to the potential applicant, instruct them at that point to say, file a notice of intent and a potential restoration plan for any portion that may need to get removed.
Ellos dicen que van a tener bueno, él creo que quiere venir aquí a chequear, pero van a ver si es que van a tener una junta interna, o sea, para ver qué pasa. Pero lo que él quiere hacer primero es venir, chequear, observar qué es lo que falta, cómo son las cosas antes de hacer cualquier cosa. ¿Ok?
Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments?
I agree with the plan to work with the zoning board, building commissioner, come up with one plan to just get everything ironed out completely.
And do we set a time for them to meet back with us in 30 days to, is that enough time for all of these departments to meet and come up with a plan?
In the summer?
Peggy, I think that 30 days, it would certainly be enough time for me to at least meet with the representatives from the zoning board and the building department to kind of determine what, we may not have a plan together by the end of, by the July meeting, but we can at least be moving in that direction. So I think maybe at the July meeting, I can give you an update as far as where those three kind of different interests lie, and then we can advise the applicant or the potential applicant what their next moves should be.
Okay, that sounds fair. Laura? Okay. Ruby?
Before we close this matter out, Madam Chair, Julie, would the best way to be in communication with the applicant be through letters in the mail, or would there be a better way for me to communicate with them about this matter going forward?
Let me ask her. So dice que si la mejor manera de comunicarse ellos contigo es por teléfono, o quieres que te mande así cartas por correo.
Cartas, diga, por favor.
Okay, she said if you could please send out letters in the mail.
Okay, absolutely, we can do that. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion at all? Okay, thank you very much, Julie, for participating and for assisting Ms. Fenton. Thank you.
Very neighborly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really. And thank you, Ms. Fenton, too, for helping us with the wetlands, with the wetlands protection. Thank you.
For the record, Kyle, I am going to make you host of the meeting. Okay.
Okay.
And that just affects the Zoom settings.
Okay. The next item on the agenda of violation discussions is 26 Allen Street.
Yes, and I have an update for this one as well. The applicant the representative for this property, I do not believe is at the meeting. I did not require her to be here. So basically, this is the property that's abutting Salisbury Brook, and it was just full of debris, and there was some dumping that had occurred there. We sent out a violation notice, and they had intended to clean this property up. I got a call from Cynthia, the daughter of the property owner. She's kind of facilitating communication with us. And she informed me that the cleanup had been done. So I went out there to check out the property. And unfortunately, it's just completely overgrown with Japanese knotweed. And it looks great because you can't see any of the debris and the stuff that's still there. But I walked back in there, and there's still just an assortment of different items and trash and things back there. So after talking with Elise Tripp from Beta, I think that we decided that what my suggestion is, we don't necessarily want the applicant or the owner to be going in there and clearing any of this vegetation out to get to all this debris that needs to be removed. So we decided that maybe a good path forward would be to kind of table all of this until the fall, when the vegetation has a chance to die back naturally, and it will expose all of this debris and stuff in there, and then we can get the work done in like this winter or early spring. So that's kind of what I've communicated to the property owner, and I guess that's just kind of up for the commission's. Yeah, I'm open for input there, but then we'll just kind of continue on if that's is amenable to everyone here.
So there hasn't actually been any disturbance as far as any change or anything, any alteration to the resource areas. It's a
That's
matter
correct.
of stuff.
It's just kind of been there's been some dumping and just different miscellaneous trash and things that are around, brush piles and so forth. So
Okay. And Mr. Nero, that's outside of the purview of wetlands protection, correct?
no, it's within the buffer area, Madam Chair, of the Salisbury Brook. So it's within jurisdiction.
But dumping is, I mean, it doesn't have to be changes in the actual land itself.
That's correct. I mean, depending on, the nature of the
Yeah.
materials, I mean, it's an activity and a degradation of the jurisdictional area, especially if it's things like, televisions containing mercury
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
That was
One
my
could say leaving it
question.
there. Yeah. One could
Is there
say
any
leaving it
like
there.
cans of paint or anything like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Okay. Um,
So we don't know if there's any cans of paint or oil or any kinds
So
of.
I can there is a large television that's been dumped back there amongst other just miscellaneous debris and trash and things. Like it was clearly a dumping site. There are pictures posted on the Google Drive. If the commission is interested in kind of checking out some of these pictures that I took before the foliage really kind of filled out. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about there.
mhm. Okay. So since there can't be any immediate action right now, there's no reason to send out an enforcement order. So what you're proposing is to resend a
Just-
violation notice with a request that it be performed, that the work be performed in the fall or late fall, early winter.
Yeah, I can certainly send out a letter that kind of formalizes all of this, but yeah, that's kind of the thought process. We will kind of circle back to this in the late fall, and where work can actually be done without further
Sure.
degrading the resource area.
Perhaps we could say that you could take another visit perhaps in December, and if it is not attended to at that point, we could send out an enforcement order. Would that be fair?
Yes, I think that would be fair. The only thing with enforcement order in this case is, like you had alluded to, it is buffer zone. However, it is still, active dumping is an unpermitted activity within any jurisdictional. But yes, I think that would send a clear message that, it should be cleaned up at the agreed upon timeframe.
Commissioners?
I like the idea that just following up by December, by then it should be back enough, and if there was something wrong, we would know, but.
Yeah, I
hopefully-
think knotweed dies back by December, I think.
Yeah, as long as it's not too warm. So yeah, I agree. I don't think they should do anything right now just because there is a lot going on.
Well, I'm a little bothered by the fact that we gave them the order and then they just waited till there was foliage covering it and just basically ignored the order.
Well, I think the car is gone. I mean, they did get rid of
The
the
car?
car, right? There was like a broken down car that looks like they did clean that up.
I think that the car is still parked on the north side of the property. I'm not sure that they've
Okay.
moved that or not, Laura.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I think So it wasn't an enforcement order that was initially sent out anyway. It
No,
was
yeah, we sent
violation.
a notice of
A notice
violation.
violation, yeah, okay. Okay. I think to go back with to
Question.
another, yes, go ahead, Peggy.
I noticed that the last name, I believe, is Greek. Did we send it in another language, or language in which they would understand?
So I've been in communication with, so the applicant, or not the applicant, but the property owner is Paul Saropoulos, I believe the last name is pronounced. I've been in contact with his daughter, who's kind of facilitating communication. So I've spoken to her on the phone, and she's the one that I'm kind of emailing about this currently.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll expect to see a violation, a follow-up letter with a request for action by December. And if that action does not occur, then an enforcement order will be issued at that time. Is that?
Sure, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. What's next? Keep losing my agenda.
We are on agenda item number 4, enforcement orders.
Enforcement orders. These are the real ones. Okay, the first one is at 19 Otis Street. The pergola.
And again, just another update here. So we issued the enforcement order on April 27th. A representative for the property owner came to the meeting last month and requested that because there's a language barrier here as well, that we set up an in-person meeting to kind of go over the enforcement order and what actions are required of the property owner by the commission. So after the meeting in May, I went out and met with the property owner, and I had someone from the building department to help facilitate translation. And we just kind of went over what the language in the enforcement order is, what steps need to be taken to start this remediation, with the eventual plan to have them file an after the fact NOI with an appropriate plan to kind of remediate that area impacted by the building over the property line abutting the brook there. So that's kind of where we are with this. So my thought is I'll follow up with them for the July meeting, and hopefully the applicant or the property owner will have had time to put together a plan and have something for us by the July meeting.
Certainly, at least the survey and a plan, I would think. Yeah.
Yes, and Madam Chair, we discussed maybe sending out in the interim like a follow-up letter just to kind of express that expectation by the commission that they come to the meeting in July with some sort of actionable item.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions at all?
Yeah.
Ruby?
No, none.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Seems if you can get that letter into the file as well, that would be great.
Yep.
Let's see, enforcement order. The second one is Ames Street, 82 Ames Street.
Yes, and this is a property that we've historically had enforcement orders they've been issued over the past years. And so this is a property that's kind of been on our radar of the commission for quite a while. I issued the most recent enforcement order on May 22nd. And that was so close to the May meeting. We've requested that the property owner come to the June meeting to discuss the enforcement order, and all actions have been taking place on the property. I'm not sure if anyone from a representative for 82 Ames is here, so I see Bob Rigo. Okay, I'm gonna promote him. Okay, I promoted Bob to panelist.
Hi, Bob, you are muted.
Good evening, Madam Chair, the rest of the commission. My name is Bob Rigo. I'm with Riverhawk Environmental. I represent the client, the landowner, Robert Tukamanian. I think he was supposed to be present also at tonight's meeting. I don't know if you see his hand raised or he's available.
I do see him, yep.
Yep, he'd probably be best to promote also as a panelist. He can fill you in better about the history and how we got here, and maybe I can
That's
add.
great. That's great, thank you.
Hey,
Tukmanian, you're muted, I believe.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Thank
how's
you
it
for
going?
joining
Good
us.
evening. So I am the property owner and I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have. If you want, I can give you a summary from our perspective of what's going on with the property.
Yes,
Just
please.
let me know what you'd like me to address.
A summary would be lovely, thank you.
Yeah, so originally when we purchased the property, I believe it was in August of 2020. It was partially paved and overgrown land. We own the building abutting this parcel, and we purchased it kind of with the intention of cleaning it up and using it with our building. When we first purchased it, we retained Bob Rigo from Riverrock Environmental. We pretty much had a phase 1 report done and checked for any wetlands or any vegetation of that nature. We noticed that there weren't any. We contacted the building department and asked if it was possible to clear the land. The building department said that there were no permits required and we can go ahead and clear any vegetation we want. Especially, the fact that we went the extra step and made sure that there's no wetlands or anything like that. We thought we were pretty safe to clear it. For years, people had been dumping garbage on the parcel. So one of the first things we did was pretty much clean up all the debris, the garbage, TVs. There was a lot of heroin needles and junk all over the property. So we cleaned everything up. We tried to shape up the land. And then that's when we, I believe, received our first notice from the Conservation Commission for the land clearing activity. So we went to the initial meetings. I believe it was Megan Shave at the time. So we were in touch with her. We had some open communication with her. We set up erosion barriers around the drainage channel on the property. And as soon as we received those letters, we pretty much put a stop to all the work. We had only cleared the corner of the parcel that wraps around Spark Street and Ames Street. The larger section of it, we really didn't touch. So after that, we pretty much have been going back and forth with the Conservation Commission. I believe they requested us to file a notice of intent. We submitted a notice of intent, I think in December of 2021. And then it was an after the fact notice of intent because there was some clearing that we did. The notice of intent was for using the corner of the parcel as a parking lot, which required it to be paved. So I believe we did stormwater design. Bob Rigo would know exactly what we submitted with the notice of intent. And then after that, Bob Rigo was injured and there was a couple delays with the meetings, which is why we missed 2 of the meetings. We did keep in touch with Megan Shave and attempted to reschedule a couple times, but I believe we just got carried away. And that brings us to this point right now. So there was a couple reports that there was ongoing unpermitted ground clearing after the fact, and recently too. We have not touched the parcel or anything like that of that nature. We haven't done any work or any groundwork in the last probably, I don't know, 2 years. That's where we stand. On the corner of the parcel, there was a gravel lot that we rented out. At this point right now, we evicted the tenant. They removed all the vehicles that they were parking in there, and pretty much we dismantled that parking lot. That's where we stand. We have no intention of doing any work at this moment. If we are going to proceed forward with the commercial parking lot, then I guess we will file the notice of intent or do whatever is required by the book.
Mr. Tukumanian, when was it that you asked the tenants to leave that area?
So the eviction of the tenants was an ongoing one. We probably reached out to them, I want to say 6 months back, and actively we were trying to get them out. The building department, George DePina, reached out to us. The tenant we signed a lease agreement with was supposed to follow the local ordinance to obtain proper permitting for his business, to use it for parking of the as a tow lot. George DePina reached out pretty much because they were violating the ordinance. They didn't have an occupancy permit. So we worked with George DePina, and we pretty much evicted the tenants. And that was a lengthy process because we had to get court orders and do everything by the book. We couldn't just enter the premises and take possession. But the tenant at this point is now fully moved out.
Okay. Thank you. That's an interesting story.
Yeah, it's been a long process, and
Yeah.
we're just trying to correct it. Our initial goal was just to shape up the area and clean it because people have been using it as a dumping ground for years, if not decades. I have pictures of the dumpsters of trash that we pulled out of there, but we just want to shape it up. Now that the tenant has vacated, we're here to pretty much clean that corner up and shape it up. We own other property in the city of Brockton too. The most recent one that we had a project with was on North Carey Street. It was the old Basement Technologies building, the blue metal building. We shaped that up, we cleaned it up, and it's a very clean property now. We kind of want to do something similar here. Start by landscaping it, cleaning it up, and turn it into a nice commercial property instead of being overgrown and run down.
And when you say that you did clearing activity, does that mean removing lots of trees and things like that?
The only vegetation that was there was mostly just overgrown weeds. There was some Japanese knotweed there. We pretty much just maintained it and landscaped the area because it was very run down, overgrown. We didn't alter the soil. We didn't, we didn't pave anything. I believe we spread some gravel for the lot in the corner, but that area was already partially paved in the past, and vehicles were using it to cut through from Spark Street to Ames Street. So it was a partially paved area, and then we filled that corner with gravel. But other than that, we didn't alter anything else over there.
What is the zoning for this property?
It's industrial 2 zoning.
And what is industrial 2?
In regards to, it's I2 zoning.
I2.
Yeah.
Okay. What does the 2 mean?
Well, they have different, they have I1 and I2, industrial 1, industrial 2, industrial 3. I believe as you go up the numbers, I think it's more heavier industrial. So just I2 is right in the middle.
And your sole purpose for purchasing the property is to clean it up and resell it?
We own the commercial building directly abutting it, 74 Ames Street. We had an opportunity to purchase the land behind us. We purchased it because our property had no parking, and then it was a abutting parcel, and we just had the opportunity to purchase it, so we decided to move forward with it in 2020.
And that building is a realty company? No?
Nope. Just the building that we own is just a warehouse building. We use it for storage of equipment. It's just cold storage. We're not looking to, create a problem with the city. We want to clean it up. We're willing to do whatever it is to correct the issue. I believe it's just been miscommunication this last year or two. We were on a good track with Megan Shave when we filed the notice of intent in 2021. And then I think things just kind of got delayed and couple, events came up with Bob Rigo getting hospitalized. And I think everything just got put on the back burner.
Mhm.
And I think that's where we are right now.
I hope you're better, Mr. Rigo. You look lovely.
Sorry, I broke my leg pretty badly, so I ended up getting plates and screws and stuff in there, but I'm
Oh.
good now, so thank you very much.
Good.
So just to add, the area that in question, it's an area subject to flooding. So it's an A flood zone with an undetermined flood elevation. So that's the area of concern. There's no wetland vegetation or anything in the area of the fill. It is a wetland resource area though, in that it's a land area subject to flooding.
So is there a nearby river that would be flooding? Where is it?
Yeah, there's a culverted river which extends a few miles to the west and comes across the site. On the screen now, you can see that the light green area, our site's at the corner of Ames Street, right there exactly.
Right.
And that's an A zone, so there's an undetermined elevation of flood there. But as you move further to the east, that blue section is a AE zone with a determined flood elevation. So there's an intermittent stream which runs along that area and heads further south.
Okay, thank you. And it is just a corner of that land, huh? That corner of that
Well,
parcel.
and if I may, Madam Chair, I'll kind of present to you some pictures that I took this spring. So as the two gentlemen here have expressed, 97 Ames is the warehouse that they were speaking about. This is the lot on the corner that they were talking about that has been paved. The concern I think here is there's kind of a ditch, an open ditch that runs here on the property. And you can kind of see that there very kind of barely on the satellite view. Let me see. Oh gosh, everything's.
Just to clarify, Kyle, you said that the corner lot was paved. It isn't paved. It's a gravel area.
Okay.
We never paved the lot.
All right, but that lot area is on this photo is the area that's behind the fence. But the complaint that I got this spring was about clearing that was done here and on this side of this is that little ditch that I was showing on the satellite. So you can see there's been some work done here. This is another photo of the ditch that comes kind of right through that property. So this was what the complaint was about this spring. And I did look at some other photos that Megan had taken over the history that this property's kind of been on her radar. And it looks like some very similar work has been done around the same time in the year, springtime, April, May, last year, and maybe even the year before. So that's what the enforcement order that I issued this year was pertaining to, not the graveled parking lot area.
Is there any particular reason why was there an NOI filed at one point to be able to do this work?
So
there was, sorry.
No, go ahead, Bob. You may be able to speak to this.
Oh, I can
more than
apologize.
me.
Yeah, so the gravel was placed in that parking area that Kyle just outlined. And we did submit a notice of intent after the fact, notice of intent for that gravel parking area, which one of the things that came about was that parking areas in the city had to be paved. So we were proposing to pave that with bituminous concrete and then provide stormwater controls for that area. So we show a rain garden in that front corner of the property at the corner of Ames Street. That is when, during that process, that's when I broke my leg and missed a couple of the meetings. We did get, I believe it was Beta that offered a comment letter on our stormwater. So there were some modifications that did need to be conducted in order to make that happen.
And is there any particular reason why you wouldn't go forward now?
I'm unsure. I guess the intention would be to because he did have to evict the client and, you know, whether they're still gonna have that project and have that corner of the lot in the same fashion, you know, with the gravel or a paved parking lot for parking of cars. So Robert, do you have a
So, yeah, let me step in for a minute. So the reason why we originally put together the notice of intent to create the parking lot and pave it was because the use that the tenant had was as a commercial parking lot was required to be paved. So that's why we proposed those plans. Now that the tenant is evicted and there is no active business and there is no active commercial parking lot there, we kind of put that on a hold. So right now, we're not really moving forward with that. But if we do, we'd be willing to, you know, go through the proper channels, put a notice of intent. Because that area or that corner of the lot isn't being utilized right now. It's just vacant. The building department reached out to us and they were the ones requesting per the zoning code that it be paved as a commercial lot, which is why we just started doing the stormwater design and everything to move forward with that. But there is no more tenant anymore. It's been vacated.
And so the
So-
lot will, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
The disturbed area, does that need to be remediated?
So the area that was cleared, when we first purchased the property, I reached out to see if I needed a land clearing permit or something. And even for the fence posts, the chain link fence for the lot, I reached out to the building department. At the time, they told me you don't need any permits to erect the chain link fence, and you don't need a permit to clear the land. So that's why we cleared it. Especially being that there's no wetlands, we didn't think it was a question of concern. So we were just landscaping the
That
property.
photo that showed, it looked like a stream that was going through the property?
Yeah, can I discuss that quickly too? So somewhere in the process, we also filed an ANRAD for the property. The ANRAD identified that there was a land subject to flooding in the front portion of the property. Along the way, the prior agent put the concept out that was a riverfront, that area represents riverfront area. We were somewhat in going back and forth with her and trying to determine whether it was truly a riverfront area. The river that leads to that, or the intermittent stream which leads to that, is fully culverted. So if you look at a map, you don't see a river that leads to that section across Robert's property. It goes from a culvert which has a closed top to a stone lined channel, which I believe is just a continuation of the culvert. There's no wetland vegetation along the sides of it. It's a stone lined bottom and sides culvert which crosses the property and then goes underneath Ames Street. It goes subsurface again and is underneath. So it's only that section behind Mr. Tukmanen's existing building to the west and then across the property there. So our contention was that it's just an extension of the culvert and not a wetland resource area because it's culverted. But again, the prior agent did have a difference of opinion with that.
And did you
I
have
would be
them
interested to
sign?
hear if Jonathan has any anything to say
Yeah.
about
Good idea.
Yeah,
what
thanks,
what that
Kyle.
ditch
So I'm
has,
not,
like if
familiar with this property in particular, but considering the fact that, there was a violation considered on this property, I'm assuming, as was just discussed, the previous agent found it jurisdictional. If it is an intermittent stream, it does not have riverfront area. However, a stream flowing through a culvert, may preclude it from having riverfront area if it flows through a culvert at least 200 feet in length. However, a stream flowing through a culvert is still a stream. So if it does daylight or continues to flow through its culvert, if it's a culverted portion of an intermittent stream, it would still be afforded buffer zone. So my best guess at piecing this together here, based on what I'm hearing, is that the previous agent did find that as violation since land was cleared within the buffer zone. So there would need to be a filing for that.
Can I add some things? So that stream, that channel, that culvert is not shown on any USGS maps at all. It doesn't appear. It doesn't appear on historic maps from the early 1900s. It doesn't appear on the most current one as intermittent stream or as perennial stream.
Right. So that wouldn't determine jurisdiction though in the field.
No, I know it doesn't. So, but just furthermore, there's to the west of it, there's no defined stream. It's a series of drainage structures and piping. So that leads to an open portion of that, a continuation of that drainage thing. And then the prior enforcement orders had to do with work within a land subject to flooding, and not along the jurisdiction of that stream, which I believe at least. So just, but we would investigate it and further, and also when you run stream stats, it's still it doesn't show up as a perennial stream, just in addition to it. But
So Kyle, I think if I could just make a recommendation to the commission, I think at this point, it sounds like maybe some more digging back into the files is needed, just to really confirm, what the scope of the enforcement is at the site. Because I think it is quite different cases, whether that's considered a stream, and although it's not mapped, if there are up gradient wetlands, even if it flows out of the wetland through drainage structures, through a culvert somewhere along the line, it would be jurisdictional. I can't speak for the previous agent, so Kyle, I think we might want to look back into the files, see if there's notes or any kind of email chains related to that. And if it turns out that it's a moot point and it was just for the land subject to flooding, then maybe something could be pursued on that end, something like confirming that there was no fill placed in the floodplain, something along those lines.
Okay, yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Mr. Rego, are you a wetland scientist?
I am not a botanist. I am a professional engineer though, so I understand hydrology, but I'm not a botanist.
Would it be possible to get a wetland scientist out to the site?
There have been. There's no jurisdiction. There's no bordering vegetated wetlands along the length of that, and the historic vegetation was just like Mr. Tukmanian said. It was almost exclusively invasive species that had overwhelmed the lot.
Okay.
But yeah, we could get a botanist out to look at that stream, but again, it's culverted with stone, so it's fairly simple determination.
It did look vegetated along the sides to me, but it was hard to see in a very quick overview.
I thought in previous pictures of that stream, it had lined walls with stone.
It does.
And at this point, it looks like the stone has fallen into the brook. Is that what I'm looking at now?
I couldn't say. I haven't been out there in, probably over a year, but so I don't know. I think there's some upper bank area. There's stone lining, and then above that is soil that kind of rolls over the top of it maybe, but I'm not sure.
Well, we are getting fairly late and we still have a really hefty agenda. Let's see.
So,
Commissioners, any other questions? Comments?
Just one quick one. So I know that before you said that you had a tenant which you've evicted, and that right now that corner with the gravel is not going to be used. If you rent the building again, is that something that's still going to be considered an option in the future, that's going to keep coming up?
So the building is a separate address and a separate parcel. We occupy the building ourselves for cold storage. We have no intention of renting the building out, which is 74 Ames Street.
Okay.
The lot as is, we have no intention of renting out until we address what's going on with the Conservation Commission and Building Department. I
Mhm.
think things are starting to get more simplified with the tenant vacating and everything, and we want to kind of address everything, clarify it, and not, go further down the rabbit hole of complicating the situation with tenants. So we're gonna hold off on any new tenants coming in. We're gonna hold off on any alterations to the ground or anything. We're just gonna bring it to a complete stop until we know what the city wants and we know where we stand with it too. Because
Perhaps Mr. Holden could like go along with the building department on this as well, just as you had said for one of the previous.
Yeah,
Well-
that sounds reasonable. I think that, just to keep things moving along, I think obviously we need to do a little bit more background work here. This is great new information. Thank you, two gentlemen, for speaking with us here tonight. I guess my recommendation at this point would be over the next month, the three of us can be in communication, and I'll be working with the building department, and we can try to maybe kind of get on the same page as far as definitions, and then we can move forward from there next month.
And perhaps get a wetland scientist out there to really do a full evaluation, and
Yeah.
that would be great. Good.
So should we plan on that? Should we engage a botanist to go out and check the sidelines of that culvert or stream, depending on what you call it, for vegetation? Is that?
Well, I think the whole point is
something
that
that
you want to develop your site in a way that's useful for you, correct?
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
you need to make sure you know what you have there first before you know
Absolutely.
exactly what direction to go in.
Okay.
So if you could do that, I think that would be a great first step while Kyle is investigating further. This was just, it was a little concerning for us because it almost seemed like enforcement order upon enforcement order upon enforcement order, and it just looked like there was no action at all. And
Right.
yeah, so I'm really pleased that you came here tonight and explained everything, and I think you certainly can move forward.
Okay. We'll get a botanist out there and they can look at those banks.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
So just to clarify, we're gonna see them in July, and there'll be follow-up from Kyle based on the findings with the environmental scientists and the meetings with the owner. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I'm going to do some more digging and seeing exactly what I was looking over here as we were going through this meeting, but what Megan had issued and kind of really delving into the notice of intent and everything presented, because there was an engineering plan that was presented in the past as well. So we'll kind of all get on the same page in the next month.
That would be great.
Will July be enough time? 30 days be enough time for all that to be done?
Yeah, I think at least for us to get this initial kind of communication thing set up and kind of get all on the same page as far as what we're actually even dealing with here. I think, yeah,
And so next month we'll just get an update from you. Is that correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Good.
That
Thank you.
sounds reasonable. Good. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
all your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good night. Enforcement order, let's see, 803 Crescent Street.
Yes, so I just have another brief update here. The property owner is Bruno Silva. He came before the commission, may have been in the April meeting. He is currently, he called me today, I spoke to him this afternoon. He's not going to be here tonight during the meeting. I'm just going to give the update for him. He has contracted out with JK Holgram to do the remediation plan for the site. That's in process now, and Scott has given him an estimation of there might be a month or a couple months because everything's busy now for him to get that plan together. But the applicant has been in communication with an engineering firm to get this remediation plan put together, and that's kind of where we are here.
Okay. And, okay, that's fine. If perhaps in another couple of months, if we don't hear from him, we need to follow up to see what.
Yeah, he seems very willing to work with the commission on this matter. So I mean, if and it's a busy time of year now, so I'd say give him a couple months and we'll just see where we end up.
Okay, keep on the radar. Thank you. Okay, okay, now onto the certificates of compliance. We have a couple of those. The first one, Heritage Court. Is someone here from Heritage Court, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we'll hear from them first. If you could promote them. Mr. Barros and Mr.
Miss
Bachman. What's this?
Gets a little tricky with the spelling. Hi,
I saw it.
good evening, everyone. My name is Nelza Barros. I'm one of the owners of the Heritage Court property today. Tonight we're looking for we're asking the commission this evening. This is something that has come before the commission before. There are a couple of familiar faces that are probably, well aware of the Heritage Court property and, the steps that we've taken to get to this point. So we were issued, just to fast forward a little bit, we were issued a new order of conditions. And we worked closely with Megan Shave also to get to this point. So we did, we completed all of our pre-construction requirements. We have maintenance steps and actions in place. We've met with Kyle, to get him up to speed, and he's done his site visit, and he can chime in afterwards also. But tonight we're here for the partial certificate of compliance, specifically for lot 25 of Heritage Court. We currently have a buyer that has been patiently waiting for a couple of months for her home. So Kyle, I don't know if you can chime in as far as the requirements and that part.
Sure, yeah. So I did review the site plan, the order of conditions, and I did a site visit. And everything seems to be, mostly everything is in order for the issuance of a partial a certificate of compliance. The one hangup is that in the order of conditions, it states that permanent boundary markers should be installed at the wetland boundary on the site. And that has unfortunately not been done. And so I was out on the site, I think it was Friday last week. And that's when we determined that was the only thing that was kind of holding us up. So we tried to work with the applicant, but unfortunately they weren't able to get the materials and obtained and then installed by the time the meeting came around this week on Wednesday. So that's the only part of the order of conditions that isn't met, and that's the only thing that's kind of in my mind holding us up from issuing the partial certificate of compliance.
Did you see documentation of the stormwater management?
Yeah, so we were issued let's see here, as part of the packet. We got the bill that I've not actually seen the review itself, but proof that they had the review done.
Yes. So it was actually sent to you, Kyle, via email.
Okay.
And so there is a maintenance, we work together with Megan Shave to have a maintenance program set in place. So we already have a placeholder for next year's maintenance of the property. And as far as the markers are concerned, we were under the impression, because there are only, I believe, 4 lots that require a partial release. So we were under the impression at the moment, we have temporary markers in place that are visible, and Kyle can attest to that. There are temporary markers in place that are visible. We reached out to, Kyle, we worked hand in hand with Kyle to ensure that we didn't want to purchase something that isn't of compliance, right? So we touched base with Kyle and he suggested a concrete, is it called a concrete? monument. So what we did is we ordered 4 concrete monuments. I have proofs of purchase for those. The only thing is there weren't any locally. We tried, it was too short notice. We were trying to make it before the meeting. So we have signs that are en route as well as the concrete monuments. The monuments are set to be, they said that it should take 4 to 5 days for delivery.
Mhm.
So
So once they're delivered, do you know how long it takes for them to be put in place?
I have the guys ready to go. They're like, they're ready to go. It's just unfortunate. These homeowners have been patiently waiting. I would hate for this small not that it's a small task, it's just, you know, I'm asking the commission this evening if there is, you know, a workaround, if there's something that there are temporary markers, as I said, in place, and that has been confirmed. If there's a workaround where they can, you know, move into their home and, you know, in 5 days or on the 6th day, you know, produce confirmation that that was done.
I mean, if one thing that we've seen before, and I don't know if it just colors at least my perspective on permanent markers, I think that the requirement for permanent markers is essential, because I can't tell you how many times pieces of property have changed hands and things have been changed and people say, I didn't know that was a wetland. Oh, and that ends up just developing so many more problems. And so perhaps that's why it does say minimum requirements for issuance of a partial certificate of compliance shall include installation of permanent limit of work marks. And that is for the partial certificate. It says it very clearly in what Megan had put together in her COC. So, I mean, OOC, I'm sorry. So I certainly don't want to hold it up, but if it's only a few days away for them to come and you have people all ready to go, would it be possible maybe that we might ask, as soon as you have them in, Kyle could go out and then sign off right away, and instead of you coming back in another month?
That's actually, that actually would be a great compromise if we could do that, as opposed to us having to, you know, wait another month and have, you know, if we can come to that compromise, that would be actually amazing, because it would serve all parties involved. So I'm in constant contact with Kyle. I've actually sent him the information of the proof of purchase of the monuments. The guys are lined up, so we can move accordingly. I don't know what the protocol is. Kyle, you obviously would relay the information.
So if that's something that the commission decides to do, I can certainly confirm the installation of these permanent markers and then issue the certificate of compliance. So, but I just want to make sure that the commission's okay with that kind of conditional approval tonight before we move forward.
I'm sorry, commissioners, I didn't, please open it up for discussion. I'm not trying to hog the floor here.
I don't have a problem with that. It sounds like they're moving forward. They've got, you know, documentation that they can show. And if, you know, Kyle can go out there afterwards, I don't have a problem with that.
I agree.
Yeah, the only thing I asked is that you make in the file, Kyle, if you could just show us the proof of purchase, so we can also see them.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I can share
Put it
that.
into the file. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great idea, Laura.
Yeah, great idea, Laura.
Okay, so do we need a motion, I believe, Jonathan? We would need a motion to issue a partial certificate, correct?
That's correct. And a
All
vote.
right, I make a motion for to issue a partial certificate of compliance to Heritage Court for lot 25, with the stipulation that Kyle sign off on that next week after the permanent markers have been put in.
Second,
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Laura, aye. It's been passed.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kyle,
Okay,
for your
thank you.
help.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Heritage Court, I do remember that one. Okay.
I need a short break. Is
I
that
was just gonna
okay?
ask that. Would you mind if we could just shut off our little cameras for like 5 minutes, 6 minutes? Okay, we'll be back at 8:07, okay? Okay, thank you. Those. What a go? Hey, I found some berry jelly. Berry. You try it? Huh? Oh, what'd she say? Oh. Did you tell her? Is it one of the boys coming? It's a cross between a raspberry and blackberry. This is a life. At PO. Yes. I think.
If something happens where you have a baby and we can't do it on Saturday, that they didn't understand. And I said, no, I said, we're looking forward to it.
Remember she, Can you hear me?
We can now.
Oh, good. Good. Let's see, do we have a quorum?
We do.
We have quorum, good, so we can continue. Where were we? West Chestnut Street, I think, another certificate of compliance?
Yes, that is correct.
Yep, and that one is 337-393 West Chestnut Street.
Yeah, it's two different parcels, so that's why it's kind of coded like that.
Yeah,
I think, Jim, are you around? I can promote you to talk to this. Yep, okay.
Jim Burke?
Yes.
Oh, it looks like two people had their hands up. User Bob Pelagi?
I think maybe Bob Pelagi might be around also.
Yeah, I see him. I think he was promoted, right?
Yes. But Bob is muted currently.
Unmute yourself, Bob.
User Bob, that sounds like it's funny.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Burke, you've hung around for a while?
Yes, I've enjoyed listening to the discussion. I think Bob Pelagi is the one that really should run with this. This is a closing that was set to occur that I represented the seller. I've known the family for decades, and they were selling the family homestead, and in the process, it was discovered there was an outstanding order of conditions of something like a 20-year vintage that work was done and performed and reviewed, but we never followed through with a certificate of completion that's required. And it required Bob to get involved and take a look. So Bob, you want to run with this?
I will, thank you. Good evening, commission members. Bob,
Bob, could you give your background? We lost Bob.
Yeah, it looks like we lost him. Bob did provide a statement. I can read that in the meantime while he is trying to get back on. So let me pull that up. Okay, this is a statement from Mr. Pelagi, and it says, "Dear Mr. Holden, please be advised that in reference to the above named site, I have reviewed the order of conditions issued on June 19, 2002, as recorded at Plymouth County Registry of Deeds, and the reference plan prepared by Land Surveyors Incorporated dated May 31, 2002, revised at June 17, 2002. Upon making a field inspection of the work performed by the applicant, I found the disturbed area, as shown on the plan, to be restored and heavily vegetated. I've also found that the 5-foot wide earth berm to be in place and heavily vegetated. It is my professional opinion that the work was performed in substantial compliance with the order of conditions and accompanying plan. In addition, an area forward of the earth berm has been fine graded, loamed, and hydroseeded. Silt fence was installed on both ends of the seeded area. On behalf of the applicant, I respectfully request the commission issue a certificate of compliance." And then I will let Mr. Pelagi speak when he gets back on, but just to kind of keep things moving. I did do a site visit. I reviewed the order of conditions, and unfortunately, because this is such an old filing, we don't have all of the documentation. So we couldn't find the notice of intent, the original notice of intent that was issued, or that was applied, that was part of the process. We did find the original order of conditions. And we were able to find the original site plan, but the site plan references a restoration plan that was part of the notice of intent, but we were not able to find the notice of intent or the full restoration plan. So this is kind of one of these things that it's a very old order of conditions, and and they just kind of needed to be closed out. So one thing that I had as a concern, very similar to the last applicant that came through, this site, the order of condition does require the placement of permanent boundary markers permanent boundary markers across the wetland. Bob, I know, has some comments on that. So when he gets back, but in the meantime, I was not able to find those. And Bob is back in. Let me promote him. Thank you, Bob. I didn't see you there. Okay, promoting Bob, the panelist, and he should be able to speak to this a little bit more as far as this goes. So, Bob, it's all yours.
Although you're muted. Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I on now?
Yes, you are.
Good evening, and thank you for your patience. I'm sorry about that. Somehow I got disconnected, and thank you, Kyle, for reading those opening comments. So, yeah, basically, you've heard the history of the site. This dates back to 2002. And as Kyle had stated, unfortunately, we don't have a copy of the actual notice of intent as filed. We had a couple of hearings with the Conservation Commission, and we utilized the services of Dr. Hewitson to accomplish that. And unfortunately, his detailed work was made part of the notice of intent, and that's unfortunately, that's not available to us. The thing that's interesting about this project is that if he had noticed, or if he had flagged some areas of concern, a bordering vegetated wetland associated with a brook, that was not labeled on the plan. So that makes this a little more elusive as to where the boundary, that no work boundary should be. I know it says, I was familiarizing myself with the special order of conditions, and there's the plan. And number 27 does state that there needs to be markers, permanent markers there, but that item number 27 doesn't speak to the material that the markers are made from. It doesn't speak to the interval that the markers are supposed to be set at. So, and then add to the confusion that then there may well not have been bordering vegetated wetland along that bank. I don't know if it, because it was removed, I don't know, it's too long ago. The only thing I can say with certainty is that we're outside of the jurisdiction of the riverfront area. So that in a nutshell is pretty much the story. Mr. Butler is in the process of selling the property, as Attorney Burke has mentioned. And any activity that he has conducted out there obviously is going to cease. He's cleaned the area up the best he can. I don't know, Kyle, if you were out there subsequent to our last site visit, were you out there?
Yes, so I went back out to the site yesterday, actually.
And can you explain what you saw, please?
Yeah, I might even have some photos for you, but basically, yeah, the berm is intact. It's heavily vegetated, and on the opposite side of the berm, so there's like the riverfront, the berm, and then on the opposite side of the berm from the river, they've gone and seeded an area there, and like Bob said in his cover letter, they had a silt fence up to kind of protect the resource area behind where they've seeded. And so on the map here that I'm kind of sharing on screen, it's kind of like this. So this is this kind of rectangular thing here is the berm. The brook is kind of right through here on this dotted line. And then they've kind of seeded this area up here. But as Bob spoke to earlier, the order of conditions lacks a lot of detail as far as what's expected for the placement of these markers. But that's the only, the markers is really the only thing, in my opinion, that's kind of holding this certificate of compliance up as well. Everything else seems to be in order with the issued order of conditions.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think the requirement for permanent markers is a good one just for future commissions.
I think it's a reasonable request, Madam Chairperson. I think typically what we've seen used historically, I don't know about Brockton, but in other towns, they use sections of PVC pipe. It's easily available. It's very durable. It's easy to be seen. You can screw signs to it if that's the objective, so that PVC piping is something that I would respectfully recommend. I know each town seems to have its own. Some towns use you know, pressure treated lumber and, I mean, there are different physical objects that are used. Sometimes some towns use cast iron piping, but I think the most common that I remember seeing was PVC pipe set. It stands out rather well.
I think it's just as long as whoever the buyers are realize that this is the limit. This is the limit of the area that they have to really be concerned of. And if they're going to be doing something, they need to get in touch with us. But
Sure, makes perfect sense. Yep.
yeah. Would a wetlands delineation be necessary in order to know where to place them?
Well, lacking
That's so long.
a delineation back then, and because there's no more work proposed, I would, my comment, my response to that, Madam Chair, would be that at this point, there's no benefit to doing a delineation at this point. Kyle and I talked this over, and we thought that if we were to take and put the desired number of barriers along the foot of the earth berm, that would probably serve the purpose. The forward, in other words, the forwardmost edge of the earth berm there.
How far is that from the brook? Can you tell? From this?
Yes, it's about that. So the forward edge would be, probably 35 to 40 feet.
Mhm.
It's
Is that an
probably-
open brook?
Is that what?
Is that an open trickling brook?
It is, and I'm going to say that it's probably perennial. I doubt that that's intermittent. I don't know. I don't. I'm going to guess that it's perennial. I mean, it may be dry for very short periods of the year, but I don't think it qualifies as an intermittent.
Mhm.
So we're assuming that it have all the protections of the Rivers Act.
Mhm.
Kyle, with his estimate of where he's saying to put the markers, do you really feel that it's not necessary since it is as old as it is? Because you indicated closing it out was something that.
Yeah, no, I think that, putting the markers on the far side away from the brook of the berm, I think is appropriate. The rest of this area is, the berm was put in place to protect the resource area behind it, right?
Mhm.
That's what the whole plan was for originally.
Right.
And putting like the conservation area, do not disturb the area behind this, I think kind of
Right.
gets the goal across here, right? That we were trying to protect that riverfront, that brook area. The berm's been installed, it's in place, and we want to protect that berm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the new homeowners are aware, the people who are purchasing the property, they are aware of the conservation land that's on their property.
I think Mr. Butler can easily make the new buyer aware of their responsibility and aware of the sensitivity of the area, certainly.
And I think Ruby, to that point, Bob, I think that's actually a condition in the order of conditions, is that this order of conditions is passed on through ownership of the property. So the subsequent owners are informed.
Sure.
Mhm. Mhm. And if only that really happened in real life, that would be great. Yeah. What about the area?
That's my
where
concern.
Pardon me?
Joyce, that's one of my concerns, is making sure that it's clear that the responsibility is, passed on to the new owner.
Madam Chairwoman, if I may, Jim Burke, the buyer is actually the tenant there now.
Oh, good.
So he absolutely is aware
good.
of this
Good.
entire process.
Good. As long as it continues in perpetuity, right?
Exactly.
Whoever he sends it on to.
Yep.
Okay. And I think a permanent marker is the way to do that, really, because anyone that has a bunch of PVC pipes poking up in their yard will say, what's that? Yeah.
So can we agree that that would be the method of marking, would be PVC piping along the forward edge of the earth berm?
With some marking on it?
Would you like a limit of work signs? A couple of those limit of work signs, you could put a couple of those on the pipe, just to on the vertical pipe, just to ensure that there's no misgivings about the purpose of the pipe.
Ms. Nero, you've had lots of experience in this environmental? stuff. What do you think of that as a resolution, as a limit of work notification for people that are coming in to purchase or eventually purchase property as a permanent marker?
Yeah, I think, I mean, in my experience, I personally haven't seen PVC used. I've actually always seen, with the exception of granite or concrete bounds, which I think are a bit excessive in this case, I generally see pipe or rebar similar to what a surveyor would set, with some kind of, signage affixed to the top of it. But if the commission's comfortable with PVC, and there can be signage with appropriate language affixed onto it, as long as it accomplishes the intent of the order and the intent of the condition, I think it's appropriate.
And again, just as the previous hearing that we had, gentlemen, how do you feel about if once it's established that you have it installed, then perhaps Kyle could go out and verify that and sign off on the certificate of compliance? Would that be okay?
Does it also say that the permanent signs have to designate a no salt zone also?
Yeah, that's something that Bob and I have spoken about. So that can just be signage that we add to those PVC pipes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with regard to the notice of no salt, there isn't the opportunity or the possibility, I don't think, Kyle's been out there, so he has the benefit of the site visit.
Yeah,
I don't think there's the possibility of the use of salt. Salt is not going to be stored there. It's not going to be used there. I can't think of a salt application that would take place there. So
Corn on the cob at a summertime picnic.
it what?
Corn on the cob, summertime picnic.
But I do agree with a limit of work sign. And then the only other thing I would ask you is what interval is the commission comfortable with relative to the placement of the pipes? I would recommend every 50 feet, but because it's wide open. It isn't as if it's all covered with vegetation and they're hard to see. It's wide open. So I'm gonna recommend or respectfully request an interval of 50 feet on the PVC pipe.
What's the berm length?
I'm sorry?
How long is the berm?
The berm varies. I was looking for length on my plan here.
Yeah.
And I don't see, I'm gonna approximate based on the length of the disturbed area. I'm gonna say that the earth berm is probably, possibly if it was built according to the plan, maybe 200 feet, 225 feet, I'm estimating. So that if you add one in each end and one not to exceed 50 feet in interval, I think that would jump out at anybody that was in the area that with a couple of signs on a couple of the vertical pipes, I think that would jump out to anybody that was in there, that what their obligation is or what their caution is.
Commissioners?
I'm comfortable with that. I don't see it as a high traffic area or anything, so yeah.
I know that in the past, oh, sorry, Ruby, that 25 feet was recommended, but because the area is so open, I believe 50 feet would probably be okay.
Ruby?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Sounds fine. And Kyle, once you have that certificate done, then you will present it to us or you'll just upload it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. So if we kind of handle this the same way that we're going to handle the Heritage Court certificate of compliance. So after they install these permanent markers, I will go out and verify, issue the certificate of compliance, and then I will upload that for your review. But then also, I guess if we need to, we can also address that at the next meeting. The fact that it's been issued, but yes, I guess if you guys vote on a conditional approval tonight, I would just be able to issue it, and then I'll post it and inform you guys when that happens.
Okay. So,
does someone need to make a motion?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 337, 393 West Chestnut Street with the condition that Kyle will go out and verify and sign off on the issue of compliance.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Bigler, aye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right,
Okay.
thank you and have a good
Nice
evening.
that you have, it's nice that you have a resident that will be purchasing. That's wonderful.
Yes,
That's easy.
thank you.
That's good. Thank
Have
you.
a Good evening, thank you.
Bye-bye. So the notice, next one would be a notice of intent on Oak Street, which was continued.
That's
that-
correct.
right.
Yes, continuance to the July meeting for this.
Continued,
uh,
as
project.
well as, I should have noted, I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting, that the 940 Belmont Street VA fueling station has also been continued to July, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And then also, Madam Chair, the Fuller Craft Museum has requested a continuation until the July meeting.
Okay, so okay, that's fine.
I have a report on the agenda. I'm still going to issue that, but like they are not
There's no one gonna be
providing
present.
anything new
Yep,
to this meeting.
okay, that's fine. Thank you. So that means we'll be at number 7 now for a notice of intent for an Ames Street substation, correct? Conoco
Yes, that's-
Engineers?
Yep, and this is one that Jonathan, I'm going to let you speak to. This is one that the Beta has done a peer review on, and I think we've got a representative for the 97 Ames Street substation here. Yep, Michael is here. I'm going to promote you.
Good evening. It's Mike Toohill from Conoco Engineers and Scientists, here on behalf of Mass Electric for this work at 97 Ames Street. It's a substation. As we talked about at the last hearing, this is a cleanup under the MCP of lead contaminated soil on the site. Some of the cleanup area is within, most of the cleanup area is within bordering land subject to flooding. But the project is to dig up and remediate the lead contaminated soil and then put everything back to the same elevation. So there's no change at all in BLSF out there. We're outside of the 25-foot riverfront area as well. And I know I did review Beta's peer review. Jonathan, Madam Chair, if you want Jonathan to speak to that, that would be great.
Certainly would. Thank you.
Thank you. So we did perform a peer review of this. It's a relatively straightforward project. So just for the commission's, I guess a summary for the commission without going through every comment is, we concur with, first of all, how the applicant depicted the existing conditions. Per the riverfront area regulations, a majority of Trout Brook on the site does not have riverfront area since it flows through a culvert exceeding 200 feet in length. However, the applicant did depict the 25-foot riverfront area where it daylights on the site. So, a majority of the work, or really all of the work, is that's jurisdictional of the commission is just a bit within buffer zone associated with the cleanup. So as a cleanup project, these are afforded limited project provisions under the Wetlands Protection Act. It allows activities to occur without strict compliance with performance standards. However, in this case, cleanup under the Mass Contingency Plan is required to meet any bordering land subject to flooding interests. However, in this case, it's sort of moot for this project because the applicant, as they noted, is proposing to pull out contaminated material, backfill with clean material, and restore back to existing grade. So they are meeting the bordering land subject to flooding performance standards regardless, and there's no compensatory flood storage needed. We also provided a handful of special conditions in our letter. Everything, starting with no herbicides or pesticides to be used, all fill needs to be clean and free of debris. And if any dewatering is needed, that such plan be submitted to the commission for review and approval prior to dewatering. And also submitting the seed mix to be used, as well as submitting an as-built at the end of the project. That's really it. And, you know, we feel that the applicant has provided the commission with the information they need to deliberate on issuance of an order.
Okay. Kyle, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Toohill, I know that you left the meeting last week and I had not asked for hearing of visitors. And I'm sorry, but there was someone, his name was John McMahon. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I'm not.
No, we do have a letter in the file. Perhaps we could forward that on to Mr. Toohill, so he would be aware of what Mr. McMahon's concerns were.
Sure, I can absolutely do that.
Okay, that would be great. Is there anyone here from an abutter or an attendee that feels as though they'd like to speak to this project? That's it. Ames Street, 97 Ames Street.
I don't see anyone with their hand raised, Madam Chair.
I don't either. Commissioners? Any questions or concerns about this notice of intent?
No, I do not have any.
I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I make a motion to close the hearing for Ames Street.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the motion, to close the hearing for the Ames Street substation. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Motion passes. Motion to. What is our motion for?
Notice of intent.
Pardon me?
Certificate.
I'm sorry, what?
Is there a certificate
Yeah, certificate of
of compliance?
Order of condition.
Yeah, this
Order
is
of
an
conditions,
order of
yeah.
conditions.
Oh my gosh, I haven't done an order of conditions for, yeah. Notice to issue an order of conditions with the special conditions that were stated
Mhm.
as outlined by the Beta Group. Motion, please.
I make a motion to issue an order of conditions as outlined by the Beta Group for Ames Street substation.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Mr. Toohill,
Thank you.
thank you. And we'll make sure we get that letter to you so that you're
Yes.
aware of what the abutters. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you. Okay, on to. Oh, we have a continuance, right? Yeah, for the VA. We already said that. So is Mr. Scott Farrier here? Yeah.
He is. I am promoting Scott to a panelist.
Thank you. Scott, you must have poll because Mr. Holden arranged this agenda, so all three of your hearings would be in sequential order.
I appreciate that. I would have appreciated it more if he put me first instead of.
Noted.
number
Thank you.
But regardless, I do appreciate that, Madam Chair.
Okay, so the first is a notice of intent for property at Pleasant Street. It's a
Yes.
family construction.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Scott Farrier, Holmgren Engineering. I was before you folks at your last month's meeting to discuss this filing we have for a two-family home on Pleasant Street, just before Field Street. And at the time, we did not have, we actually didn't give Beta enough time to conduct their review. We were a little bit late in paying the consultant fee. We thought we weren't going to need it actually. So we paid the fee. We received our review from Beta, I believe, last Friday and maybe Thursday. And we've since made changes to the plan that I have in front of you. My screen is awfully dark.
Yeah.
But I do, hopefully I can share the screen.
I don't see you at all.
Well, that might be all right, Madam Chair.
Okay.
So Scott, this is the plan that you have up here is for the 549
Copeland.
Copeland
Oh,
Street.
that's Copeland.
Yep, I'm just trying.
Okay,
Here we
just-
go.
Just wanted to make you aware. Okay.
There we go. All right. Hopefully everybody can see that. Do you see that plan, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, as I said, Madam Chair, we have Beta's review. They had a few comments, none of them, really none of them that we had any issues with. None of them that were all that significant. Some notes to add to the plan regarding some construction issues, a dumpster, a construction dumpster to be added to the plan, a material stockpile area to be added to the plan, some additional grading around the parking area. And then they also suggested that we show a level spreader area at the end of the parking instead of a leaching catch basin that we had previously. So those are really the significant changes. As I said, we made the changes, submitted them to the commission on Tuesday. So I'm sure they haven't had a chance to look at them at this point, but we were, as I said, in agreement with all of the comments and hoping that we could close it out subject to their blessing of these revised plans, Madam Chair.
So, but Beta hasn't sent us a review of your comments, correct?
That's correct. I don't believe like I said, they would have just received them yesterday. So I'm guessing they haven't got to it yet, Madam Chair.
That's correct. We have not drafted formal responses yet or materials.
Okay. Either Mr. Holden or Mr. Nero, do you have anything that you'd like to add to this before?
Just that we haven't had a chance to review yet, so I don't want to speak prior to that, but we can certainly, as soon as we complete a review and these these comments are addressed as Scott is noting, we can issue a letter stating such.
And that will give us some time. Hopefully it'll be, so it'll give us some time to be able to review both what Scott had to say and your response as well.
Okay. That would be fair, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering, Mr. Faria, there was one thing, the post-construction best management practices packet that.
Yes.
That it said that there's an inspection schedule and a checklist. I didn't see that in here. At least that's what it said in the table of contents. I didn't know if you're going to be presenting that or not when you give your full packet.
I believe it must, I'm looking at it now. As you say that, Madam Chair, we did not include it, but I'll make sure I send it over to Kyle in the commission tomorrow morning, Madam Chair.
That's great. And then we'll have that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So I assume we will, I'm sorry, commissioners, any questions at all?
I don't have any at this time.
Okay.
I don't have any either at this time.
Okay. Is Peggy still with us? I don't see her on my screen.
Yeah, I am. I have a quick question about the leaching field. Where is that going to be?
So the leaching field is an infiltration system right here as you're looking at it from Pleasant Street on the right side of the house to handle the runoff from the roof.
Okay.
So there'll be gutters, downspouts with leaders leading from those downspouts to the infiltration system for the roof runoff.
And that says 8 by 20.
Yes.
How deep is it?
It's about 3 feet deep with the structure and the stone underneath it.
Okay. Okay, any other questions at all or comments? I would expect the only thing that we can do is continue to July meeting. Okay. I entertain a motion to continue the 0 Pleasant Street notice of intent. To entertain that motion, please.
I make a motion to continue 0 Pleasant Street to the July meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Okay, we will see that again next month.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commission members.
You're welcome. The next one on the agenda is number 10 Copeland Street. So do you know, was the abutter notification completed on that? And do you have a DEP file number?
I do not have at least last I looked, Madam Chair, and to be honest, I didn't look today knowing that, knowing that we weren't close to having Beta even go out there yet. So I didn't look today to see if we had received it yet. The abutter notification has been made. Well, to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure that I submitted that to Kyle, but I can certainly submit that to him.
Okay,
as
do you
well.
have the green cards or?
It's the certified mailing.
Yeah. The list?
Yep.
Okay. Yep, if you could submit that, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank
So
you.
on this one, Madam Chair, we received our quote from Beta to review the wetlands line. My client is in agreement with it, just hasn't brought the check down to City Hall yet. So we haven't even given Beta the green light to get out there and review the line yet. So I think at this point, unfortunately, we don't have any choice but to ask for a continuance as well, Madam Chair, and hopefully we'll be ready for you in July.
Okay, that sounds fine. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions at all? Kyle?
I don't have any comments. Thank you.
I don't have any either.
Okay, I entertain a motion then to continue till July.
I make a motion to continue 549 Copeland Street to the July meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to continue 549 Copeland to the July meeting. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And let's see, the next one after that. Oh, a silo construction.
Pretty exciting,
In
Madam Chair.
Brockton, a silo. How cool is that?
So again, Scott Farrier, Holmgren Engineering, this project is it really is. Not just the fact that it's a silo, but it's a pretty cool project. It's at 1020 West Chestnut Street, right at the 24 overpass. If you're riding down Route 24, heading north, just before the 123 exit, you can see the existing silos that are out there. And there's a building that's kind of tucked in the woods, as I said, right up against the highway that's currently owned and operated by New England Tortilla Company. And they make nacho chips at that factory. It's like I said, not that many people in Brockton know that they're even there, but it's a pretty cool story, really. They've been open now for a few years. Business is booming. They moved into Brockton. Since they've moved in, they've spent an awful lot of money on the facility, both on the outside and the inside. And as part of their continued expansion, they are making blue tortilla chips, and the corn or the maize to make those chips needs to be completely separate from the other product, which necessitates this extra silo on the property. Just as a quick history, we filed a notice of intent back with the commission probably about 5 years ago, Madam Chair, received an order of conditions. I'm just looking while I'm talking. Yeah, we received an order of conditions in 2019 and then filed for a certificate of compliance a year or so after that. So we did have an order of conditions to do the building construction, followed the order of conditions, received a certificate of compliance. As part of this project, the silo that they're looking to build is going to be placed on top of an existing concrete pad. And it's surrounded by the parking area. So there's really no land disturbance at all. It's pretty much just plunking down this silo on the property. It will not need site plan approval because of the square footage of the facility. It did need ZBA approval just because of the height of the silo. So we did receive ZBA approval a few months ago, and we're just hoping that you could issue a negative determination with whatever conditions you would see fit, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Scott.
you.
Kyle?
Yeah, Scott, I did the review for this one, so I've just got a couple questions. When I was out on the site, one of the, I'm not sure if it was a floor manager or who it was, but someone came out and kind of talked to me about the area in the back of the factory there with the silos, and he mentioned that he thought that you were planning on tearing up the concrete and like putting down a better foundation to support the weight of the silo. Is that something that's part of the plan?
The structural part of it, I think that's perhaps a little bit in flux. They may have to, but it would still be within that existing concrete pad area. It wouldn't expand past that concrete pad. There's a chance that they have to basically chisel out that little area that they would put the silo on just to pour some extra concrete to reinforce it, but it would still be within that existing concrete pad area, that work area.
Okay. Scott, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I've got the plan pulled up here, so everyone
Yes.
can kind of see what we're
I'd love to see
talking
that.
about
Thank you.
here.
Thank you.
Okay, and then another concern that I had, Scott, was okay. Well, first off, let's kind of talk through the plan here. So this grayed out silo here is the new silo that's going to be added.
That's
These
correct.
two smaller circles are the silos that are already existing. And as Scott had already said, basically this entire paved roadway back here, this is all concrete up through here, and then this is the actual factory itself here. So the resource area in question is kind of back over here, and it kind of you can see the wetland delineation markers over here. And then I guess there's this is kind of just a drive back here, and there's kind of a curb that separates the pavement from the resource area.
Correct.
So anyway, Scott, one thing that I was concerned about, you have your limit of work here, proposed area of work, this circle here. Will that give you enough room to access the site with all the machinery required as listed here on the site plan?
Well, yeah, I suppose realistically, the circle will probably be expanded once they start working, Kyle. It'll remain within the paved areas of the site. Certainly nothing will go beyond the paving, but yeah, realistically, I'm sure they'll have a staging area that'll have to expand a little bit beyond my circle.
Gentlemen, is there a key to show the size for a scale?
Is there a what?
A scale bar to see the size of the distances?
It is a 30 scale drawing. The silo, as you know, is a 14-foot diameter and about 40 feet high with the entire structure. Yeah, and from the edge of the silo to the concrete pad, the existing the edge of the concrete pad where it butts up against the bituminous paving, it's about 12 feet from the edge of the silo to the paving.
Okay.
So they've got that 12-foot area within the concrete pad to actually do work before they even break into the bituminous paving.
So I see what you mean, Kyle. There's not a lot of room for wiggling big.
I mean, there is plenty of room on site, but just not necessarily within the area.
You're right.
delineated
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, my circle is probably a little misleading.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions before I move on to my recommendation?
Not for me.
No?
No.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, I've reviewed the RDA application. I've done a site inspection. So I'm recommending that we issue a -3 determination subject to the following conditions. The site plan shall include the addition of erosion control measures to prevent the bordering vegetated wetland to protect the bordering vegetated wetland during construction. And all construction material / storage for the project shall be placed outside of the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. And then I'm also recommending that we issue a positive 2B determination stating that the boundaries of the following resource area are not confirmed by this determination, the bordering vegetated wetlands. So basically that's just saying that the bordering vegetated wetland delineation on this map, we're not confirming that with this determination.
So you can't go back later and say, oh, but you said this was it.
You basically, right? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the most important thing then is the -3, or I guess we would have to vote on both, correct?
Yes, I believe you have to vote on both.
Commissioners, how you doing?
I'm ready to issue a -3 plus the conditions outlined by Kyle for 1020 West Chestnut Street.
Second.
And also a positive.
To be
Positive
determination.
to be as well.
Oh, it's all at the one time? I thought it was separate, so it's all at once.
I think we can do it all at once.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, you can do it all.
well,
at once.
then I'll revise my motion to include -3 plus conditions plus positive to be with the stipulation that this map does not delineate the bordering vegetated wetlands for 1020 West Chestnut Street.
Second.
Second, so the motion for the -3 determination and a positive 2B determination has been made and seconded, so roll call vote, please.
Bigler, aye.
Play I.
Curtis, I.
Morris, aye. Motion passes. Let's have some nachos.
There you go. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks.
Okay. Let's see. Ta-da. Copeland Street is done. Silo construction is done. So now I believe the next three that seem to be linked together would be playground, park / farm / city property work. Is that correct? The RDAs?
Yeah, that is correct, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
And we have three, I think at least 3 people from the Parks Department here to speak, so I've promoted them all.
Okay.
And we'll go through these next.
Okay. Hang on just a second. I just want to see if I can find my papers that have to do with them. Okay. Let's see this. The first one is Plymouth Street Playground. We'll be speaking to that.
I'll take this one. My name is Ray Dunnitz, with Ray Dunnitz Landscape Architecture. We're working with the city to design a bunch of the parks throughout the city. We've discovered that 3 of them are within the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction, and we're looking. We've submitted RDAs for those.
Mhm.
So, Kyle, do you want to pull up?
Yes, I can do that for you. Give me one moment,
Plymouth
please.
Street? Okay, thanks. I'm happy to share my screen if that's better.
If you've got an easy access, I'm kind of dealing with some pop-ups here. If you can do
Okay.
it, you're welcome to.
Okay, great. Can everyone see my screen?
We can see your chat back and forth to Marco.
Oh. You can't see my, okay, let me see if I can
No, we're
do a new share here. This should be it. How about this?
that's much better.
That's better.
The other one was more interesting.
Marco's on the call as well, but in the background. So the first park that we're going to discuss tonight is Plymouth Street Park. It does abut Trout Brook. You can see we've got the edge of Trout Brook labeled here. There's another red line.
You have
adjacent-
your cursor? Or is that?
I'm sorry?
Do you
Oh,
have
I'm
your
sorry.
cursor?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Can you see my cursor?
Yes, thank you.
Yep, and this is the 25-foot
Right.
riverfront area. This is an existing park. We're simply doing some, what I would call minor renovations to the existing park. We're actually removing pervious area. There's an existing bituminous concrete pad over here that we're going to be reseeding with lawn. The basketball courts are staying where they are. We're just resurfacing them. And then where the existing playground is located, we're putting in porous rubber surfacing. So we're really not doing a tremendous amount of work here. We do show erosion control all along the back fence line during our construction period. And
What will you
happy to
surface
start
the
again.
basketball courts with?
Currently they're surfaced with bituminous concrete. We're just putting it back. We're removing the sort of top layer of it and then just repaving the top layer.
Where is the replacement fence going? You're going from 4-foot to 6-foot fencing? Where is that gonna be?
We're removing a portion of 4-foot fence over here. And this putting back 4 feet, just same height. We don't have any, I don't believe we have any 6-foot height fencing. Oh yeah, just
Okay.
around this edge down here. In between the parking lot and there's a
I
parking.
read that it was going from 4 feet to 6 feet.
That was my understanding based on the plan, but that may be incorrect.
Replacing the existing 4-foot chain link fence with a new 6-foot chain link. Where would that be? I'm thinking it's 4 feet in length.
That's
and
in
it's being
Kyle's.
expanded to 6 feet.
That was my understanding, Ray, but if you're just replacing the 4-foot with a new 4-foot chain.
Yes,
that may- I
it's
just may have
just in kind.
misread
Yep.
that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so we could just change that in our notes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I was a little confused because I didn't think we were doing that.
All right, Kyle, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, sure. So as far as like the resource areas impacted here, one note, Ray, on this plan, the 2 FEMA flood delineation lines are swapped as far as the labels. The one that's the dashed turquoise that's labeled FEMA floodway is actually the FEMA flood zone AE, and the solid line is actually the FEMA floodway, but that's not that big of a deal. I'm just letting you know that on the plan, those should be swapped.
Okay.
Everything outside of the 25, everything outside of the fence that's going to be replaced, that 4-foot fence, is let's see.
Is that within the 25?
Yeah, work other than the replacement of the chain link fence is outside of the 20-foot riverfront area. So all the other proposed work is outside of the 25-foot riverfront area. And then the rest of this is already it's in an already degraded floodplain. So as long as we don't have an elevation change after the post-construction work, that shouldn't really affect the flood zone. So with all that said, my recommendation is that we issue a -3 determination subject to the following conditions. That the site plan should be updated with the correct labels of the FEMA flood zone and the FEMA floodway. And a straw wattle erosion control shall be extended around the northeast corner of the to-be-replaced chain link fence. So right now, Ray, looks like the erosion control kind of ends at that corner in the north east corner of that 4-foot chain link fence. And so we ask that the erosion control be extended around
That wraps
chain
around.
link fence all the way up to Plymouth Street. And all construction material and storage for the project shall be placed outside of the correctly marked FEMA flood zone AE. So that's the right now on the plan, it's the FEMA floodway that's labeled FEMA floodway, but the outermost dashed FEMA line, once they're correctly labeled, that will be the FEMA flood zone AE. So all staging shall be outside of that flood zone.
Would that be outside of the limit of work then?
No, because that turquoise line kind of cuts diagonally through the basketball
yeah,
court and
yeah,
like
yeah,
halfway
I see
through
that.
the play area.
Yep, I was just looking at the top part. Okay.
Okay. And then finally, I also recommend that we issue a positive to be determination stating the boundaries of the following resource areas are not confirmed by this determination, bordering lands subject to flooding. So similar to the last recommendation, we're just not confirming that these lines are correct. But that's what the positive to be determination is saying, but the -3 says there won't be any negative impacts on the resource areas. Are there any questions for me?
Not for you. No. Commissioners, do you have any questions for either Mr. Carpenter or sorry, what's the
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Do
Any
do
questions
we
at all?
need any input from Beta on this?
So Beta, that's what took me so long, Peggy, to get these things posted is I did have Beta review my agent reports this time. So they've already kind of reviewed everything and they're in agreement. Jonathan's welcome to speak to this if he chooses to.
No, pretty straightforward. I agreed with Kyle's recommendations as stated.
Okay.
And then just one last point, I do see on the plan here where it says new 6-foot height chain link fence. But if you're just going to be replacing it with a 4 foot, that doesn't change my determination at all. But it is labeled there on the.
Is there an issue? It's a little bit confusing the way our drawing, we'll have to get back with our staff because I do see it labeled 4 feet and I also see it labeled 6 feet.
Yeah.
Is there an issue with a 6-foot fence that we should know about?
No. As far as I'm concerned, the height isn't relevant for our determination.
It's the erosion control. Yep. Okay.
Just we want the erosion control to extend around that corner up to Plymouth Street. Yep.
Okay. We'll clarify that tomorrow.
Okay.
Commissioners, I entertain a motion to issue a -3 determination and a positive to be.
I'll make the motion to issue a -3 with the conditions outlined by Kyle and a +2 confirming that the map does not reflect, we don't consider that correct. Forget it. I'm sorry.
No, we know what you mean.
Set it all up, but all right, -3 plus a +2, skip everything else I just said. The Plymouth Street playground, it's getting late.
Well taken, it's getting really late.
I second that.
Whatever that was. Motion, okay, the motion to issue a -3 determination with conditions and a +2 determination for the Plymouth Street playground has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, aye.
Boris, aye. Motion passes. Thank you. I believe the next one on the agenda was the Chukis playground.
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
This is Tukas Playground. We're replacing, we're removing some old play equipment, putting in some new play equipment. The city asked us, to take a look at accessibility, and currently the playground is not accessible. So we are looking to add 2 handicap parking spaces at the end of Trout Street to provide access to the for wheelchairs and whatnot to the playground. Kyle had reached out to me earlier today to let us know that our FEMA flood line was inaccurate. We went from the GIS maps, and I reached out to our surveyor and he said Kyle was absolutely right. So this is the modified flood elevation. It's this turquoise line that pretty much encompasses the baseball field and these courts and the playground area. See if I can zoom in a little bit. Anyway, I don't know. Hold on a second. Here we go. So we have the purple line is the 100-foot wetland buffer. And the 25-foot perennial stream bank in orange. We did have these wetlands flagged by Lucas Environmental. And we had a survey done by Feldman Geospatial, so everything on here is quite accurate. This is the site preparation plan. We're removing a bunch of stuff, protecting a very nice 30-inch caliper tree. We'll also be doing some accessibility improvements on the other side of the park that are sort of, I believe, outside the jurisdiction. Here's a plan of most of the subject work in the playground. We're adding swing sets. These will be, they're in the flood zone, but they'll be the same elevation. We're not filling to add these. They'll be sunk, flush with finished grade. Here are the 2 handicap parking spaces. These will be out of bituminous concrete. And this fill that's around the existing playground is just where there's compacted soils and just basically filling in the holes basically that have been caused by kids playing there. I believe that concludes what I was going to talk about with this one. If I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to. Or Kyle, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you did a pretty good job of summarizing, and thank you for updating the flood zone there. Yes, that is the correct delineation that we kind of caught there. Yeah, the only thing there on the map that's kind of within the 100-foot buffer zone for the wetland is the new parking spots that they're going to be adding. And then everything else is just kind of a like flood zone concern for us. So again, similar to the last park, because this is already kind of a degraded flood zone, as long as there's no like change in elevation after the construction, this shouldn't really impact that. So as far as that's one aspect of this. And then I guess we're just ready to move on to the recommendations. I think you've done a good job of describing the plan, Ray. So based on my review of the RDA and the site inspection, I recommend issuing a -3 determination subject to the following changes, conditions. And the first one is you've already addressed, you've modified the flood zone to correctly reflect the 96-foot elevation there. The second thing is we would like, I recommend that the erosion controls mentioned in the RDA application shall be added to the site preparation plan, at minimum protecting the area within the marked 100-foot wetland buffer zone. So the area around the parking spots there. You do reference these erosion controls in the application, but they're not on the site plan. So we'd just like that to be included. So when the engineers are doing the work, it's right there. And then finally, all construction materials and storage should be placed outside of the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. Well, okay, so the recommendation actually is all material storage for the project shall be placed outside the 100-foot wetland buffer zone and the correct FEMA flood zone AE, and no changes in grade under post-construction conditions shall be permitted. And then I'm also recommending that we issue a positive 2B determination, stating that the boundaries of the following resource areas are not confirmed by the determination: the bordering vegetated wetland. So just the delineated wetland down to the like the south west portion of the map.
Is the area around those play areas, is that grassed? Will that be grassed?
Yes.
And, Ray, one thing, and I'm not sure, the recommendation is that you don't stage any materials within the floodplain. The floodplain basically encompasses the entire lower portion of the park there. So, I'm not sure if you, and you can't really stage it much farther north on Trout Street because, that's residential access there. So that might be something that may be a hangup. I'm not sure, Jonathan, do you have any comments on that?
Oh, sorry, had trouble unmuting. In terms of access concerns?
No, it's in terms of the recommendation is that they don't store any construction material or stage anything within the floodplain. Since the floodplain is basically the entire lower portion of the park there, what would be the, I mean, like we have that as a recommendation, but like I don't see what other options there are there.
For storage elsewhere, yeah, I'd say if it's infeasible to store anything outside of the floodplain, that at a minimum, anything that's stored within the floodplain just be surrounded with erosion controls and be removed in the event that a significant storm surge is approaching.
Okay. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's going to be added as a condition?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can't really imagine there will be a lot of storage here. We're not moving any earth or.
Yeah.
All right, and that's all that I've got. Any questions for me?
Commissioners, any questions for anyone? Laura did have to leave, but we still do have quorum.
Yeah, no questions for me, Joyce.
Okay, then I entertain a motion, please, to oh gosh, got to do it again.
-3 and +2B.
-3 plus +2 equals. Okay, entertain a motion to recommend a -3 determination with conditions stated and added, and a +2B determination this is for the Tukas Playground.
Okay, let's try it again. I make a motion to recommend a -3 determination and a +2B for Tukas Park.
I second the motion.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, aye.
Horace, aye. Motion passes. Tukas Playground is about to become redone.
Awesome.
Acceptable. Okay, let's see, one more. Hillstrom Farm. I didn't know there was a Hillstrom Farm in Brockton.
Yes.
Where is this located anyway?
It's near
North Cary.
in between North Cary and North Avenue.
Huh.
And mostly currently being used for soccer fields. So I'm going to try to navigate here. So currently there's an existing, an old basketball court at the northern portion of the, let me see if I can just show you in context. There's an old basketball court. There used to be an old entrance into the park, North Avenue. And there were other types of fields out there. Tim could probably talk more about the history of it, but Park Corporation did the wetland delineation, and we had this, once again, Feldman surveyed it. This purple line is the 100-foot wetland buffer, which goes through the old basketball court. The new plan here is to remove all the basketball appurtenances and make that into a parking lot.
Huh.
Let's see. Here's our erosion and sediment control plan, but let me just show you what it's planned to be. So this will be a new entrance into the park, small driveway, and about 20 cars parking, but it's within the footprint of the existing asphalt parking lots. I mean, bituminous court. So we're actually removing impervious area here to create a smaller space. And the other nice thing is that the parking lot will be outside the 100-foot wetland buffer. There are some other, at the other end of the park, we're restoring the soccer field, regrading it, reseeding it, putting in irrigation. There is that is within the 100-foot wetland buffer. There is an old tennis court that we're repurposing as a new futsal court.
Sorry, I knew what court?
Futsal. It's like soccer inside of a fence.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
No pickleball, huh? No pickleball?
no pickleball here. No, that wasn't on the wish list for this park. And the existing parking lot, we're just renovating that. It's the asphalt's all crumbling and basically putting back what's already there.
Mhm. Is that right on the wetland line?
It is, yeah. But not over the edge of the wetlands, but that's where the parking is already currently located. So we're not increasing the footprint at all. In fact, we may be making it smaller with better measurements for reusing the standard Brockton parking space size.
Why does the limit of work take a little up in that right-hand corner? Why does it
goes
look
up. We have to initially, we were looking at just renovating that whole driveway because it's in rough shape. The other thing was that in order to irrigate the field, we need power in the site, so we had to bring electricity up through the site. Those plans have changed a bit. The electricity is going to be over, and it's going to be taken from this side and put, and all the pumps and everything that the irrigation needs are going to be up in this corner here because it was easier. There's currently an existing fire hydrant where my cursor is. We're gonna take the water supply from there to feed that irrigation. So
is that other plan not?
This is a match line here. It's a big park. We couldn't fit it on one sheet.
Okay.
So
Oh, I
this
see.
this connects to the other sheet.
I see.
Yeah. It's two
So
sheets.
Ray, just to clarify, so you're bringing both the water and the electric from the access road at North Street?
Correct.
Okay.
So there'll be a series of utilities, boxes, and that sort of thing for the irrigation controllers, and the water pressure wasn't very good here, so we have to bring in a booster pump to make the velocity of the water faster, more pressure.
Okay, then Ray, another question. If you go down to the other map of the soccer field,
Yeah.
I think Joyce's question was, the limit of work in the top right corner there does encroach in the wetland. So why is that within the wetland boundary?
That's a good question. It shouldn't be. So we'll fix that.
Okay, so we can make that a
Thank you.
condition.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was looking down towards North Carey Street, but
No, it's the upper corner.
yeah, we'll fix that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Kyle? Do you have anything to add?
No, but I can move forward with the recommendation. Most everything's outside, this is obviously already in place, we're just kind of resurfacing this parking area. So based on my review of the RDA and my site inspection, I recommend issuing a -3 determination, subject to the following conditions. So the first condition is that we're going to modify the limit of work, so it's outside of that, the wetland boundary on this map here. Secondly, due to the proximity of the work to the edge of the wetland, and this is specifically on this map, Ray, is what we're talking about. Due to the proximity of work to the edge of the wetland, compost fiber tube shall be used for erosion control rather than the straw wattle as proposed. And then also compost fiber tubes, tube erosion control shall be added to protect the isolated wetland near the southwest corner of the North Carey Street parking lot. So if you look at this map here, down farther south and then to the left a little bit, on the left side of the road, up in that corner between here, maybe I can just share on mine. I'm going to share my screen. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I need to stop?
No,
sharing?
I can just override you, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got the map pulled up here. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so these are two delineated, isolated wetlands, and this is the one that I'm kind of talking about here. While isolated wetlands are outside of jurisdiction, since you're going to be right here anyway, and the work's going to be done, you're already putting erosion control on this side. Thought it might be nice for you to put erosion control and just kind of protect kind of this corner of the parking lot. And then all disturbed areas shall be seeded immediately following construction, and construction materials and storage for the project shall be placed outside of the 100-foot wetland buffer. So I think there's plenty of space for you guys to manage that on this project. And then I also recommend issuing a positive 2B determination stating the boundaries of the following resource areas are not confirmed by this determination, bordering vegetated wetlands. So the same deal as before.
Okay, commissioners. Are we good?
Yes, I'm good.
Right.
Entertain a -3, please. -3, positive 2B.
It's right around the corner from me, so I'm looking forward to it. So I make the recommendation to issue a -3 and a positive 2B for Hillstrom Farm Park.
Seconded.
Okay, with the conditions that have been outlined by Kyle.
Yes, with the
Right.
conditions that have been outlined by Kyle.
Okay. So the motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Horace, aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
I
you.
have a question.
Thank you.
Taking care of our kids.
Any plans for working on the park near the Ashfield School?
That's a school department playground facility.
Darn.
So I
Oh,
was
no, they have their own. They have their own park
at the Ashfield.
at the Ashfield, but
Yeah,
they.
yeah. I don't
with
have
the
any
town-
care, I don't have any
with the-
care and control over that. That's all
No.
school department.
I
Okay.
think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, we're doing 9.
Are you?
We are. We
So
are
it's
doing-
just these three that required RDA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Thank you for coming forward and for, for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Moving on. 9:30 already. Uh-oh.
We're close.
Can we just power through, girls and guys? You think?
I'm able.
Ruby, I know you have a busy day tomorrow. Can we power through for another 10 minutes, you think?
Yeah, you might as well go on. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is, let's see, 2023 sewer system rehab. Weston and Sampson. Do we have representatives?
Yep, I think we've got 2 here, so let's promote them to panelists. Oops.
It's Bridgewater Brockton Sewer Extension, right?
Yes.
It was an RTA requested. Oh,
Well, no, so this is one that the commission requested that they
Yeah.
submit an RDA for
Yeah.
this.
Yep.
So yeah, a little bit of background. We received a utility notification and then the commission requested that they submit an RDA. So that's what this is. All right, Anna or Steve, would either of you like to speak to this briefly and then we can get through?
Yeah.
Okay,
That,
go
that
ahead.
would be excellent. Anna, very nice background. I didn't do as well as you did.
Thank you.
So my name is Steve Peterson with Weston Sampson Engineers. Obviously, I have Anna with me. This project, yes, it's a municipal sewer project for the town of East Bridgewater. Town of East Bridgewater and the city of Brockton have entered into an intermunicipal agreement for East Bridgewater to be able to convey a limited amount of wastewater from the corner of East Bridgewater into the Brockton sewer system. So the project that we are designing and moving forward with involves about 22,000 feet of pipe, but of which the last 1,300 feet is the last section of an 8-inch force main in Thatcher Street within the city of Brockton. So basically coming from the Thatcher Street in East Bridgewater into Thatcher Street in East Bridgewater, into Thatcher Street in Brockton. And it travels about 1,300 feet along there. It's a 8-inch PVC force main that's going to be beneath the paved surface of Thatcher Street. Basically, they're going to have to dig up one side of the road, put the pipe in and then bury it and resurface the road when they're done. And the reason we're here tonight is because, of that 1,300 feet, about half of it is within 100 feet of adjacent wetlands along the side of Thatcher Street in that area. So Kyle, we could share the drawings if you want to go into a little more detail.
Kyle, you've lost your voice.
I've got them pulled up now. I can go ahead and share if that's okay.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine. Why don't you just share?
This is really the relevant one that has the wetlands, on
Yep.
the map. Is this the screen that you were wanting to share?
Yeah. So yeah, the sheet previous to that doesn't have any buffer zone impacts. Yeah. So that
Right,
one there.
yeah. So this is
that
another
would
part of the
show-
map. Right.
So coming from left to right, we're coming on Thatcher Street from East Bridgewater into Brockton. And then, yeah, the second sheet is basically the one where, again, you've got some resource areas adjacent to the road.
Mhm.
And you can see the biggest issue here will be siltation control during construction with all typical measures of straw wattles. And like I said, at the end, everything is to be restored to pre-construction conditions. We're not adding any structures other than a couple of manholes. There will be a couple of manhole covers in the street for future access to the pipe. It's about 6 to 7 feet deep, the pipe itself. And again, it's a pressure sewer. So there's a pump station back in East Bridgewater. So there's gravity collector sewers collecting at a pump station, and then about 14,000 feet of force main that brings it to Brockton. Again, with the last 1,300 feet being here on Thatcher Street. And Kyle, I don't know, I guess I'd open up to questions or if you want to get
Mr.
into.
Peterson, how many homes in East Bridgewater will actually be serviced?
So the IMA with Brockton is for 75,000 gallons per day of average daily wastewater flow. And this is really going into areas that are currently being developed by the Compass Medical. And there's a 40B development that's going to be going in some of the vacant land. There's a lot of vacant land off of North Bedford Street and Highland Street and Winter Street. There's a large warehouse project being constructed right now that's going to tie into it. So it's a lot of underdeveloped, underutilized land that couldn't be constructed, couldn't build septic systems, couldn't get the wastewater into the ground.
Mhm.
And it's been underdeveloped for years. So it's not, there are no residential properties being sewered by this. It is commercial development. Well, it's a commercial industrial area. So there will be some high density housing at some point.
So you mentioned a 40B, would that be residential?
Yeah, that's what so yeah, some high density residential development.
Any idea how large that will be?
I think it's like 240 units.
Okay, thank you.
And what was the reason why it was the sewer system needs to be connected to Brockton as opposed to East Bridgewater?
Well, East Bridgewater doesn't have a wastewater treatment plant, so they don't have a sewer collection system. They're on septic. And this area can't be developed on septic. So, yeah, that's why we have the IMA.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
Okay, any other questions before I kind of get started here?
Please do, Kyle. I was just gonna ask you to do that. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. So this is a pretty straightforward utility exemption. So, I did the site visit, I reviewed the RDA application. So I recommend issuing a -5 determination, and basically that's saying that the sewer extension project will not substantially change or enlarge an existing lawfully located structure used in the service of the public, and includes best practice measures to reduce or minimize impacts to wetland or resource areas, and is therefore exempt from filing a notice of intent. So that's the first one, a -5 determination. I also recommend issuing a -3 determination subject to the following conditions. So due to the proximity to sensitive resource areas, compost fiber tubes shall be used instead of straw wattles to protect the approximate 198 linear feet of the sewer extension within the 25-foot no-touch zone of the bordering vegetated wetlands, and all access trenches shall be closed at the end of the workday. I know most of this work is going to be, you're not going to be trenching most of this. It's going to be kind of like trenchless technology. Is that what I read in the?
Actually, no, this will be open cut. They will be
Okay.
trenching this work. So there is a couple of sections that'll be trenchless, but not this.
All right.
section.
So would that be feasible to close those trenches up at the end of the workday and then open them up
Yes.
the next day? Okay. So that's going to be.
Yep, they
part of
won't leave
the-
any open trenches overnight.
Okay, great. And then finally, I recommend issuing a positive 2B determination stating that the boundaries of the following resource areas are not confirmed by this determination, the bordering vegetated wetlands. Any comments or questions, Steve, for me? Or anyone else?
Anna, did you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think Steve covered it very well.
Okay.
She was prepared to share her
Commissioners?
screen.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? Who wants to do the math? I entertain a motion, please.
Okay, I'll issue a motion to permit -5 determination plus Kyle's conditions, a -3 determination plus the conditions that are outlined by Kyle, and a positive 2B for the 2023 sewer system rehabilitation.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, where are we now? DuPont substation or another RDA?
Yes, last one. Allison is here to speak to this. So I've promoted Allison as a panelist.
Hi, good evening. My name's Allison Milliman. I'm with BSC Group. I'm here on behalf of New England Power Company to discuss the request for determination of applicability. The proposed activities include the installation of one riser pole just outside the existing substation within a disturbed area associated with the substation, and an approximately 190 linear feet of underground conduit. Total impacts to the 100-foot buffer zone, once all work is complete, is approximately 2 square feet associated with the new riser pole. Thank you, Kyle. What Kyle's showing here is the existing DuPont substation is located off of Summer Street in Brockton. The the existing usable yard is actually enclosed by the first fence. That's, let's see, on the northern side, near where the conduit is proposed. Then there's a secondary fence that's along the outside. Most of the 100-foot buffer zone in that area is previously disturbed and stabilized with rock. I don't know, Kyle, do you think it's helpful to show the photos of where that pole is and the existing conditions?
Yeah, you know, and I may have some that I can get here. Otherwise, I'll let you share. Let me see
Yeah.
what I've got.
Let me know.
Let's see here. Yeah, I guess I don't have any photos uploaded yet, so I'll stop sharing and you can take over.
Sure. Is everyone able to see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start with this photo here. This is that first fence line that I discussed. This was a site review we did with the engineers with New England Power. Where this stake is here, this is where that proposed riser pole will be installed. From here, it will connect to the existing distribution facilities that are located on the outside of the outer fence. This is all overhead work, so no impacts between this area and where this pole is being proposed. But then there will be an underground conduit that will be installed basically from this pole to bring the OPGW line in kind of in an angle and then enter into the substation underground. So after this pole is installed and the conduit is trenched in, they'll be backfilling it with the native soil that's in place, stabilizing it with a similar substrate that's currently existing. So this is pretty much a riprap gravel mix that's in this area. So for the most part, it's relatively minor impacts. And there really will be no substantial change to the existing 100-foot buffer zone associated with that bordering vegetated wetland that's located on the far side of the fence.
How large will that pole be when it's installed?
It's 2 square feet of permanent impact.
How tall will it be though? I was just,
Riser poles typically can be anywhere between like 20 and 50 feet. It depends on what they need for the clearance. When you're going, because they have to design it so they have no electrical conflicts with overhead lines.
sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does the fence have to be moved to include that pole afterwards?
No, there's no proposed changes to the existing fence lines on the property.
Seems intact to me. Kyle?
Okay, so yeah, this is obviously this is utility work. So I worked with Jonathan a little bit on this one. So he's instructed me that the utility pole itself is exempt activity, but the trenching of the power line into the substation doesn't qualify for that. But that said, this is a relatively minor impact. So I'm recommending that we issue a -3 determination subject to the following conditions. Straw wattle shall be installed around the disturbed areas, like the trench and the pole installation areas. And then this determination is because, as I mentioned before, trenching outside of roadways or driveways is not considered minor or exempt activity, while the utility pole installation is, but it's still going to get a negative determination. And then finally, we also are recommending the issuance of a positive 2B determination, stating the boundaries of the following resource areas are not confirmed by this determination: the bordering vegetated wetland.
Thank you. No comments from me. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to issue is it certificate of compliance or is it RDA?
No, it's an
RDA.
RDA.
RDA for the DuPont substation. -3 determination with conditions and a +2B.
Seconded.
So the motion's been made to issue a -5 determination and.
-3,
Oh,
Joyce.
sorry, -3, I'm sorry, -3 determination and +2B determination.
Yep.
Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Thank you, Ms. Milliman.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You
Yeah,
too.
thank you,
Thanks.
Allison.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right, and that concludes all of the new applications that we've received this month. The next two things on the agenda, I've got a series of reports and then a couple utility notifications. None of this actually needs a vote from the commission tonight. So I guess we're going to be at the pleasure of the commission. Do we want to work through these? We can handle these, I guess, through email potentially as well. This is just mostly for your information as a commission, just to keep you guys updated as far as where these projects are. And then, we have 2 utility notifications that have been submitted to the commission, so we are aware this work is going to be happening.
Approximately how long will this take?
I was just gonna ask that. 10 minutes, do you think, to go?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it won't take long.
I would just assume that than having to sit and do emails and if you don't mind, that would be
Sure,
great. But we
yeah,
have it-
yeah.
and we have it as part of the record on tape too.
Sure. Okay, great. So then moving on, Joyce, to agenda item number 17 with the reports.
Is Whitman Sewer?
Yeah, so this is a project that's been before the commission. You've issued an order of conditions for this, and part of that is that they have to report to the commission twice a year. So this is uploaded to the drive. And that's all that I really have to say about that. That's so we can, you're able to review that at your pleasure. Just to kind of keep track of where they are through the process.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay, and then the Fuller Craft Museum, there are a couple different things that are happening here with the Fuller Craft Museum. They have some interesting stormwater complications that have just arisen in the last year. So we're trying to work with Beta to determine what's happening there. Fuller Craft Museum just recently funded the scope and fee for Beta to do their actual review. So we just got that check-in within the last week. So that's why nothing's being actually presented to you today. But we're looking for by July, we'll have some sort of new information with Beta's input on this project. Additionally, the Fuller Craft Museum was issued an enforcement order for kind of lack of attention to a resource area that they kind of trenched and connected a bordering isolated wetland to because it was flooding with all this new stormwater issues that they've been having. So they got an emergency certification to kind of trench that and drain that area out. And that trenching area, Megan issued an enforcement order because that wasn't being maintained and wasn't really finished and stabilized like it really should be. But they've sent me some photos recently. They did seed it this spring, and stuff's finally starting to come up there. So that's kind of an update on there. We hope to have an actual, an action item for the commission next month, and that's really it for the Fuller Craft Museum.
So that was an enforcement order and an NOI as well? Is that?
I'm not sure if it's, I think they did file an NOI originally, but since then their plans have kind of changed because there's all this extra stormwater stuff that they're trying to figure out. There's a lot of flooding there that's happening. So we're kind of like the NOI, the original plan that they put forth with the NOI is like, I don't think any longer kind of what they're aiming for.
Yeah.
So we're kind of reassessing the situation, and that's why Beta is getting involved to kind of help try to identify what the problem is with this flooding on the west side of the parking lot. And then we're kind of, have a new plan, hopefully coming forth in July.
Okay, great. Sounds great. And then Algonquin?
Yeah, so then these next two are just a couple of utility notifications that we received. The Algonquin system pipeline. Let me see if I can pull up the map here for this one. They basically, this is a natural gas pipeline. As part of their routine maintenance, they do testing along their pipes. and they detected an anomaly within a section of pipe that goes through Brockton. So as part of their their standard procedure, they need to go in and like check out this pipe, and that's going to involve kind of trenching it up and exposing the pipe, and then determining what, if anything, is wrong with it, and then doing those repairs, and then covering the trench back up. So they anticipate this might take up to about a week. And let me show you a map maybe of where this proposed work is going to be taking place. It's on the south side of Brockton, kind of close to the VA hospital.
It's the west side, I think. It looks like it's really close.
Well,
to
yeah,
the
like the southwest corner. Yep.
looks like it's right by the high school.
So let me see here.
I think that's the high school. Is that the high school?
Okay, so here's the VA hospital. This is Belmont Street. So this is the red portion is the area that they're going to be digging up. So this is a very rough map, just to kind of give you a general area, general idea of the
It's right
area.
by the high school.
And
Do you know
then
when
this
they're
is,
gonna be? You know when they'll do that?
it says in the document, I don't have it that in front of me right this moment, so I can look at it in a moment here. But so it's basically right next to this diamond, and it is next to this West Meadow Brook. So it's definitely within the resource area. That's why they're contacting us. But this work is it's exempt unless Jonathan has anything else to say. As far as I'm concerned, I think this is I mean, we've required RDAs to be applied before. I think that it's either this one or the next one. They're planning on doing the work like in July, so like coming up very soon. So I don't know if like let's look at and see when this is
It's
actually
right by the
coming
Shaw
in.
Center.
Let's see.
Kyle, if you have any concerns on whether this might require an RDA or not, I'm happy to take a closer look if you want to send the document our way.
Okay, and that's something we can certainly do. Yeah, I can forward that on. I'm sure that, well, I know you've just, Jonathan, thank you. You've been so helpful. Jonathan got thrown into this whole mess yesterday. So he's been doing his best to kind of get caught up on everything. So
Thank you, Jonathan.
so thank you.
So we'll see you again.
Okay, yeah, so right here, it's scheduled to occur in the third quarter, currently scheduled for July, but subject to change based on field conditions. So coming up relatively soon. Okay, so that's this one. So would you like me to kind of ask Beta to kind of review that to see if they think an RDA is appropriate?
Probably would have to be expedited pretty quickly if they want to do it in July, because it would have to be, we'd have to hear the RDA and at the next meeting, which would.
Yeah.
If you can have them take a look at it and see if it would be safe, feel that it's safe to go without the RDA.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, digging up a gas line right next to a school and senior center is.
Well, I mean, it's better that they dig it up and repair it rather than the
Oh,
alternative.
yeah, of course. No, you think?
Okay, and then the other one is New England Power Company. They will be repairing through like 4 or 5 different electrical pole footers throughout the city of Brockton. Let's see, just look at the map here. So it looks like there are 4 poles here. Again, here's the VA hospital. 4 poles around this area, and then there's 1 pole up here. So it looks like 5 poles in total. And this is obviously within a resource area. You can see this on this map. And again, like they're going to be doing the standard like mats they put down so they don't impact the wetlands as they do this utility work. But again, pretty standard utility kind of thing here. As far as if you think that we should have them do an RDA for this as well, it's something we could look into. But this is just a second utility notification, and I'm not sure if they have a. So this is just part of the fiscal year 24 footer repair project. I don't think we have any other dates involved here.
Normal maintenance of an existing facility. Okay. I think most of the utilities have really good practices. It seems, but commissioners, do we want to see if it, well, can you just send it on to Jonathan to see?
Yeah, I can send both of these on and then just
Yeah,
have
that'd be
Beta
fine.
like give it a look over and see if they
That'd
think,
be fine.
yeah, an
That'd be
RDA is
fine.
appropriate or not.
Sure.
It appears that they've covered their, the bases by, showing us the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Acts that regulate.
They're exempt, yeah.
Yeah, so that they are exempt, but it never hurts to have Jonathan take a look at it.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah, Jonathan, I'll send those both over to you in the morning and have you guys just give a look over those. If that's
Great.
okay.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you everyone for your patience. We made it. It's not even 10 yet. Great job.
How close is it?
You are funny.
9:54.
And Kyle, you have been incredible, the amount of work you've been doing. Very, very truly.
Well, thank you.
know.
I'm doing my best.
I know. Next time we just have to get the stuff done on less of a,
Right. Yeah,
at
that's
the
the
end,
goal.
right before the meeting. Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I
Okay,
think you
and-
deserve a gold medal for this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and thank you very much for doing for going out and signing those orders of condition, the sign offs on the certificates of compliance. I think that was a nice way to do it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good compromise. So I'm happy that that worked out.
Yeah. Okie dokie, Jamoki.
Good
I
night.
entertain a motion to close this darn meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion's been made.
One, Ruby, second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Clay, aye.
Woo-hoo.
Curtis, I.
Kyle, do you vote?
I don't vote.
Or a
Sorry.
sigh? I know. Okay, good night, everyone.
Good
All right,
night,
thank you.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
Good night.
Jonathan.
Night.